Hi, my name is Bella. My husband and I have been married for 2 years. I had a terrible time finding love until I was 27 years old. I went to an elite middle and high school for girls only, and then I went to a university for women only. After I graduated, I got a job as a receptionist at a big company. As you might expect, all of my coworkers were women. For most of the people in my social circle, business leaders would ask them to parties, but not me. I never went to those kinds of events. It was easy to understand why talking to guys made me so nervous that I couldn't even speak. People often told me how nice I looked, and I was asked out a few times. There were some nice guys at dinner, but they always told me, "You're pretty, but there's not much else to you." After that, it happened. The door to my fate opened. Can I ask Bella to go on a date with me? This is what Lex, who worked for one of our clients and always checked in at my desk, told me. Since he would only give me his contact information, people around us thought we were dating, but it wasn't true. I just smiled at him when he tried to start a conversation, like I did with everyone else. I really thought I would always be single, but when he told me, everything changed. May I suggest that we begin our relationship as friends? That was my answer. Got off guard. He nodded so excitedly that it looked like his head would fall off. He smiled as he walked into the office. I had never done that before. Guy questions like, "Want to have dinner?" had always been the norm up until now. "Free tonight." But when I was with Lex, I didn't get that sense. I only felt love. I was so happy. I went on a few dates with him, but I was still nervous and didn't talk much. The moment I knew he liked me for who I was, I knew. Is it possible for you and I to be together? To the point of tears, he was so happy. All of this took place on Christmas 2 years ago. At that moment, I was very happy and thought I would always have someone so loving in my life. But there was a hole in his armor when his business failed. Now it's been 2 years, and I'm 29. "Lex, you should probably wake up now," I told my husband, who was still asleep. Then I put on my shoes and left the house. I'm the only one making money for our family right now. My husband's business went out of business 6 months ago, and he hasn't had a job since. It's been hard for him to find a job. This business is in a bad field, and the economy is also bad. Sometimes he gets an offer for a job that pays only $2,000 a month, which makes it hard for him to commit to a new job. Even with all of this, I still support him. Our love isn't so shallow that it would fade if one of us lost our job. My pay has always been pretty low. We've never lived a fancy life. We rent a 2-bedroom flat that is more than 30 years old. It's a 30-minute walk from the train stop, and the building isn't safe. But I was ready to give up a lot of things so that we could keep living together. I thought my husband might still be upset about his company going out of business. He had a few job offers, and I waited calmly because I thought he'd find a good fit and feel better. But my hope was short-lived, and he kept getting worse. Even taking out his anger on me by raising his hand sometimes was a sign of his stress. He didn't leave any permanent marks, and I thought he must be hurting more than I was. So I put up with it because I wanted to help. Then, after a few days, he finally got a new job. He quit the business he was in before and went into a whole new one. He took the job because the new place was ready to hire him, even though he didn't have much experience. I felt better when he got it because I knew I wouldn't have to be his hitting bag anymore. I thought he might be getting violent, but it looked like it was just a phase. He is now working hard at his new job and was even given the title of team leader. It's been a year, and I just turned 30. I was excited about having kids soon, but the loving man I married didn't seem to be there anymore. I told you I liked toast. Now tell me why you made pancakes. Also, take out the pit if you're going to serve fruit. Little things started to make my husband mad, and he started saying mean things. "Really, do you need to talk that way? Lex, you're an adult now." I snapped back. "Take out the pit yourself." I was getting angry. In response, he hit the wall with his hand, which scared me. I don't like to argue, but I know in my heart that what he's doing is mental abuse. Recently, I've tried not to upset him, but we've been fighting a lot, and I'm tired of it. When he took it out on me, that's when I lost it. It looked like the stress of his new job was to blame. Soon after, he was made team leader, which showed how good he was. Now everyone tells him he's going to be a department head very soon. He couldn't handle the extra stress, so he started hitting me, who was an easy target. In fact, I quit my job at 30 to stay at home and raise my kids. When I got into my 30s, I'd always planned to quit my job as a receptionist and do something I really enjoyed. Since my husband knew this, I stopped at age 30 as planned. He doesn't seem to like it though. Women need to work too these days. You should know that my pay is enough to take care of both of us. Do you even value the people who have taken care of you? He moans while he eats, then gets his bag and goes to work. I was there for him when he didn't have a job. So why am I being blamed now? That's when I started to mentally distance myself from him. When I got home one day, there were shoes I didn't recognize at the door. There was my mother-in-law in the living room, which caught me off guard. "Well, Mom, why are you here?" My mom told me straight out, "Didn't Lex tell you?" When I went up to her, "From today on, I'm moving in." This is something I've never heard before. Over time, I learned that my husband had suggested that my mother-in-law move, and because she was lonely after the death of my father-in-law. Of course, no one asked me that. While I was still shocked, my mother-in-law told me to start making dinner. It shows how valuable a housewife is to take care of her family, so she told her, "Get to work." Even though I was angry and confused, I went to the kitchen to make dinner. Then Lex's mother-in-law came in and said, "Lex hates burgers." The food was almost ready. This is rubbish. The dish was almost done when she threw it away. I was seated inside, but strangely, words failed me when I was faced with this surprise event. I couldn't say anything, so I just listened as my mother-in-law went on. She then started going through the fridge and cooking without asking. I finally calmed down and told my mom, "Hold on." I made a list of meals for the week and then went shopping. As soon as I said that, he dumped flour on my head, making me cough. I kept watching her make her food, and then she told me to clean up. When my husband finally got home, he was thrilled to see the meal. "Yes, this is the kind of food I want. It's better to eat fried food than salad." He walked past me and happily sat down to eat with his mom. My heart felt like it had been smashed and black ink had been dropped on it at that moment. Following that, my mother-in-law continued to bother me every day, and my husband continued to hurt my feelings. I felt like I didn't belong in this house, and even though my husband wanted to be close to me, I couldn't because of the situation. As a 30-something woman, I have been putting off having a child because I don't want to have a kid with this abusive man. The last straw finally broke. My wife's mom asked me to take her to the hospital because she was sick. Even though I didn't want to be with her, I had to take her to the hospital, even though I didn't want to. But when I went to get her, a social worker told me to go to a different room. She told her, "You must be having a hard time taking care of the kids and doing all the housework by yourself. But taking it out on your husband and mother-in-law isn't good." It turns out that my mother-in-law was saying that I hurt her when I fell. Even worse, she had been to the hospital more than once and asked about me each time. It looks like she picked today to deal the last hit. The social worker blamed me because she didn't know the whole story. You should look out for kids and old people more. During that time, our family hasn't had any children. When I was told I might need psychological help, I had had enough. You broke my rights, so I'll sue you. It's not you who is being mistreated here, it's me. I showed proof that my husband abused me and that my mother-in-law burned me on purpose. The social worker said she had to check with my mother-in-law, but I told her no and left the hospital by myself. Soon after, my husband and mother-in-law came home. My husband heard from my mother-in-law that I was mean to her. My husband shook his head and said, "You're leaving me, you parasite. How dare you leave my mother?" What kind of lie did my mother-in-law tell you? Based on her fake tears, I think she did it again. I was sick of telling her she was wrong, so I left the house without noticing either of them. I didn't go home that day. Instead, I stayed the night in a work hotel. I was lucky to have my wallet and cell phone with me, and it was easy to find a charger. I chose to avoid both of them for a while and not go back home. But as I walked by the house one day, I saw a woman in her 50s who lived across the street from our apartment. I was beginning to worry. I haven't seen you around. She also told me that your mom told her that you and your husband are going on vacation for about a week. When I heard that, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Then I asked myself, if not now, when? I called the moving company right away and asked them to help me move out as soon as possible. It was a little more expensive, but I didn't have much stuff, and the movers were able to get it all to my parents' house in just 3 days. Let's see how my husband and his mother react, since they have no idea how much I've helped with the house. They put me down when they don't know anything about me, and I won't forgive them. After moving, I went back to my parents' house because their house was empty. After a few days, my husband called me. "Where are you, Bella? There is no one in your room." When my husband found out what was going on, he kept asking me where I was. I told him, "Not your business. By the way, I've already filed for divorce because you've said you wanted to do it before. Sign them and send them in." After I hung up the phone with him, I stopped calling his number. After that, my life became peaceful. I did yoga, made breakfast, and then sat down with my parents at the table. I had lunch with my mom and dinner with my family again. That's how I felt, but it was comfort and happiness I hadn't felt in a long time. When I told my parents to thank you, they were surprised, but they were happy to see me. When my husband found out I was at my parents' house, he waited nearby for me. When I saw him, I tried to run away, but he caught up and grabbed my arm. "Call me Bella. Let's go home. Without you, the house is a mess." I yelled, "Help me," as his hold got tighter. As I was being helped, a high school boy in his sports uniform came by and called the cops. A businessman nearby also helped. Since the cops were there, my husband quietly left. But as expected, my angry mother-in-law stormed into my parents' house. "How dare you make fun of my son in public? Oh, you and your family are a shame." Finally, I stopped my dad from going up to them and told him, while I was doing that, my mother-in-law was outside our house making threats and even talking about defamation lawsuits. Dad was about to lose it and talk to her about it, but I stopped him. "Okay, I'm ready to settle this." I called my husband, who was standing next to my mother-in-law when the call came in. He told her straight out, "I know you're cheating, and I have proof. I'm going to sue you for abuse and get money when we get divorced." My husband became scared when he heard this. After hearing rumors that he was going to a hotel with a coworker, I actually paid a detective to find proof of his cheating. I had a lot of proof. I even went to the hospital and got a note saying I was healthy in case they tried something. I had also recorded talks in case I needed proof. I was going to talk to my husband and his mother about it when I was ready mentally. But I'm not going to be quiet when they insult my parents. My mother-in-law has also been stealing money from my pocket. I've heard that the house is in terrible shape and even smells bad since I left. People in the neighborhood are complaining, right? My husband didn't know what to say. A friend told me this story. They said my husband and his mother were not in town. It looks like they haven't been doing simple things like picking through the trash, and the house has become a dump. Besides that, I heard that the property management gets reports every day about the loud fights they have. Now my husband might understand how much I helped the family and want me to return, but it's too late. I'm not coming back to live happily ever after with your mom. After I said that, I put the phone down. Soon after, my wife's mom tried to break down my front door. They were both arrested after I called the cops. After the fact, my neighbor told me that they hadn't taken care of any of the complaints through the management business. The drama finally got so bad that it cleared out the whole apartment building. The management finally went to court against both of them for not paying rent, ignoring complaints, and making business difficult. They were being sued for money damages. They were finally told by the court to leave and pay money for harm. They can't rent anywhere now because they're on a list of people who can't rent. It turned out that the rent wasn't paid because my husband made a mistake at work that cost a lot of money and caused him to lose his job. He quit his job and moved far away because he couldn't find another place to live in the area. He then ran into another problem when he tried to find new work. He became homeless, which made his mother steal from stores. She was arrested for hitting a store worker who tried to talk to her. I read about this in the news online. I have no idea what comes next, and I don't want to know. When I got divorced, I started working at the coffee shop of my dreams. Someone I work with who is 5 years younger than me and I became friends. I got married again when I was 34. We opened our dream cafe when we were 40, and now I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant at a late age, but I've never been happy.
I should have left the night he split my lip for asking about the phone bill. Instead, I iced my face, told the ER nurse I tripped on the stairs, and smiled through a lie so tight it made my teeth ache. That was 4 years ago. Since then, I've learned how to lie better, how to smile better, how to survive better. My name is Marissa. I'm 29 years old, married to a man who kisses my cheek in public and bruises my ribs in private. I work in HR at a mid-sized company where I'm known for being quiet, reliable, and always bringing cupcakes on birthdays. No one knows I've been hiding $50,000 in a savings account for the past 2 years. No one knows I was going to leave today. I took the day off, told Jarrett I had a dentist appointment. He grunted from the couch, eyes glued to ESPN. I packed a suitcase while he was in the shower, shoving in only what mattered: documents, clothes, my grandmother's locket. I didn't cry. Not even a little. It was 10:42 a.m. when I walked into the bank. I wore a hoodie and sunglasses, like I was doing something wrong. My hands were sweating. I kept whispering to myself, "You're okay. You're doing this. Just breathe." Ivan, the bank manager, smiled when he saw me. "Morning, Marissa. How can I help you?" "I need to make a withdrawal," I said, voice steady. "From the savings account ending in 1432. He typed something, paused, then frowned. "There's nothing in that account." I blinked. "What?" "It was emptied last week. Full balance transferred to a joint account ending in U098. "That's not possible," I said. My voice cracked. "I didn't authorize anything. That account's under my name." He looked uncomfortable. "It's co-signed. Your parents are listed on the account." My stomach dropped. "Can you print the transaction record?" He hesitated. "I can't give you a copy right now, but I can show you the screen." A list of numbers and dates appeared. The transfer was made 3 days ago. 50,000, gone in one click. Recipient, Tinsley Wedding Fund. I couldn't breathe. I stepped outside, sat hard on the curb, and called my mother. She answered on the second ring, voice bright and sugar-sweet. "Hi, honey." "You took the money," I said. A pause. Then a sigh. "Oh, that?" "Yes. We transferred it. Don't be dramatic." "You what?" I stood up, heart pounding. "Marissa, your sister's wedding is in 2 months. She needed help. You're married. You'll figure it out." That money was mine. I was leaving. I stopped myself. "You're not leaving anyone," she snapped. "Marriage is hard. You don't just run away. You work through it. You stole from me. We did what was best for the family. You're being selfish." I hung up before I screamed. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped my phone. People walked past me like I was invisible. Maybe I was. I didn't go home. I couldn't. I called Jade instead. "Where are you?" she asked, voice sharp with concern. "Outside the bank. They took everything. My parents. They drained it for Tinsley's wedding." Jesus Christ. Okay. Come to the motel off 7th. I'm getting you a room. Don't go home." I nodded even though she couldn't see me. "I can't believe they did this." "You can. You just didn't want to." The motel smelled like cigarettes and bleach. Jade handed me a key and a warm coffee. "You're safe here. For now." I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the ugly floral comforter. They really think I'm just gonna let this go. "Do you have proof?" she asked. Ivan said he'd look into it. But the account was co-signed. I thought it made it safer. Safer for who? She said. You trusted people who never protected you. I looked at her. What do I do? She pulled out her laptop. First, we document everything. Then we talk options. This isn't just betrayal. It might be fraud. I laughed, bitter and hollow. My sister's wedding is being paid for with my escape fund. Jade opened her phone. You want to see something disgusting? She pulled up Tinsley's Instagram. There she was, all teeth and champagne, posing in front of a vineyard with the caption, "Dream venue paid in full. How a blessed fairy tale wedding." I stared at the screen. My throat burned. She knew, I whispered. She knew where the money came from. She doesn't care, Jade said. She never had to. I nodded slowly. Something cold and sharp settled in my chest. It wasn't sadness anymore. It was something else. Something heavier. Cleaner. I'm not just leaving Jarrett, I said, more to myself than to Jade. I'm burning this whole thing down. She looked at me. You sure? I met her eyes. They stole my freedom. I'm taking back everything else. My phone buzzed. A text from Ivan. Hey, can you come back tomorrow? Something's off with the way the withdrawal was authorized. Privately, please. I showed it to Jade. She raised an eyebrow. Looks like we've got our first crack. I leaned back against the headboard, heart still racing, but steadier now. The worst had already happened. What came next was mine to write. And I wasn't going to write a happy ending for them. The motel room was cold, even with the heater humming low. I sat cross-legged on the bed, scrolling through Tinsley's Instagram like it was a crime scene. Look at this, I said, holding the phone out to Jade. Tinsley was in a white silk robe, surrounded by bridesmaids, holding up a gold-foiled invitation. The caption read, "Custom invites just arrived. Only the best for this once-in-a-lifetime love story." Jade squinted. That's embossed. Those things are like $8 a card. I tossed the phone on the bed. She's flaunting it, like it's hers. She probably thinks it is, Jade said, pulling a folder from her bag. You've been the family doormat for how long? I didn't answer. She already knew. Jade opened her laptop. I've been looking into the transaction. If your parents forged your signature or authorized the transfer without your consent, it could count as fraud. But the account was co-signed, I said. Still doesn't give them the right to empty it without your knowledge, especially if the funds were earmarked for something else. I rubbed my temples. I just wanted out, that's all, not a war. Well, you've got one now. My phone buzzed. Another post. Tinsley again, this time posing in front of a boutique. Caption. Dress fitting today. Can't wait to be Mrs. Knight. Jade leaned over. She's tagging the designer. That's a 5-figure dress. I stared blankly at the screen. They used everything. Jade sat beside me. You have 2 choices. Let it go or make them wish they never touched your money. I looked at her. I want the second one. She smiled, then handed me a pen. Then we start here. Write down everything you remember about the account. When you opened it, deposits, any communication with your parents about it. I started writing. My hand was shaking, but I didn't stop. The next morning, I walked into the bank wearing the same hoodie, but this time, I didn't feel like running. Ivan met me in his office, shut the door behind us. I looked into the transfer, he said, sitting down. You didn't authorize it. Your digital signature was used, but the timestamp and IP address don't match your usual activity. I blinked. So someone forged it? Looks that way. And the transfer went into a newly created joint account with your sister and your mother. That's not standard, especially not without your consent. I swallowed hard. Can I get a copy of the withdrawal record? I can get you a printout, but I'd recommend talking to someone legal. This could get messy. Messy's fine, I said. I've been living in messy. He nodded and slid a paper across the desk. Here's the transaction. And I flagged the account for suspicious activity. If anything else moves, you'll know. I left the bank gripping the paper like it was a weapon. In the parking lot, I called Jade. They forged my signature, I said. It's official. Good, she said. Now we build a case. That night, I sat on the motel bed with my laptop open. Jade was on the other end of a Zoom call, walking me through what to document. Keep screenshots of everything, she said. Emails, texts, even social media posts. Anything that shows they knew what they were doing. I pulled up an old text from my mom. Just make sure you're not doing anything reckless with that money, honey. You're still married. I read it out loud. Jade raised an eyebrow. That's foreshadowing if I've ever seen it. Then I got an idea. I opened Tinsley's Facebook messages. We hadn't talked in months, but I remembered one thing she said when she got engaged. You're so lucky you don't have to pay for your wedding. Mom and Dad are covering everything. I'd brushed it off back then. Now it felt like a confession. I screenshotted it and sent it to Jade. Perfect, she said. Keep digging. Just then, my phone rang. Mom. I hit record before answering. Hi, Mom. You need to stop this nonsense, she said. Her voice was tight, clipped. You're making a scene over some wedding money. It wasn't yours to take. You're being dramatic. Family doesn't sue family. I haven't sued anyone, I said calmly. Yet, she scoffed. You're going to regret this. You think strangers care about you more than your own blood? I think strangers haven't stolen from me. She hung up. I played the recording back for Jade. That's gold, she said. She just admitted to the theft and tried to manipulate you into silence. I sat back, staring at the ceiling. They really think I'm going to crawl back. Jade smiled darkly. Let them think that. The higher they climb, the harder they fall. I looked at the screenshot of Tinsley's dress fitting again. She was glowing, radiant, oblivious. Let her have her fairy tale. I was writing the ending, and this time, I wasn't the one getting left behind. I walked into the bank the next morning with a fresh printout of the forged transaction in my purse and a pit of fire in my stomach. Ivan met me in the lobby, eyes serious. Let's go to my office. He closed the door behind us, then pulled up a screen. I had IT trace the login that approved the transfer. It came from a device not previously associated with your account. Where? I asked. He hesitated. Your parents' home address. I stared at him. So they didn't even try to hide it. They used your saved credentials to authorize it. But the IP and device ID don't match your usual logins. It's enough to raise flags. Can I get that in writing? I'll draft a statement, he said. But you'll need a lawyer if you plan to press charges. I nodded. I already have someone helping me. Back at the motel, Jade was waiting with 2 coffees and a folder full of printed screenshots. I pulled the metadata from your sister's Facebook photos, she said, flipping open the folder. Check this out. One image caught my eye. Tinsley holding up a champagne flute, grinning, with a paper sticking out of her purse. Jade zoomed in. Enhance that. I already did. She pulled up the magnified section. It was a receipt. The same amount as the transfer. Same date. Same bank. She's carrying around the evidence like a trophy, I said. Jade smirked. And now we've got it. I sat down, flipping through the rest of the folder. What about Jarrett? She sighed. We'll get there. But this is your focus right now. You've got enough to open a fraud case. I pulled out my phone and opened my texts. There was one from Tinsley, sent weeks ago, before I knew anything was missing. Can you believe Mom and Dad are covering the whole venue? I'm so lucky. I showed it to Jade. She knew. She just didn't care. She was raised not to. I nodded slowly. I'm not letting this go. Later that night, I called my mom again. I hit record before she picked up. What now? She said, already annoyed. I just wanted to let you know I've spoken to the bank. Silence. They confirmed the signature was forged. And the login came from your house. You're being ridiculous. No, I'm being thorough. You're going to destroy this family over some money? You already did. She laughed, bitter and sharp. You think the world is going to take your side? You're married to a man who provides for you. You have a roof over your head. He hits me. Silence again. You think I didn't notice the bruises? I asked. You looked the other way. I thought you were clumsy. No, you just didn't care. She hung up. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Then I saved the recording. The next morning, Jade and I sat in the back of a coffee shop with a lawyer friend of hers. He wore a wrinkled suit and had a voice like gravel. You've got enough to file a civil suit, he said. Possibly criminal, depending on how the DA feels. Forgery, unauthorized access, misappropriation of funds. What about my husband? I asked. Separate case. But if you've got proof of abuse, we can file for a restraining order. Maybe even spoliation if he's destroyed property or evidence. Jade handed him a flash drive. Everything's on here. He nodded. I'll review it tonight, but you're in a strong position. I exhaled. Okay. That night, I got another voicemail from my mom. You're going to regret making a fuss over some wedding money. Family doesn't sue family. I played it twice, then sent it to Jade. She's digging her own grave, she said. The next day, Ivan called. I pulled the full access logs, he said. There's a pattern. Your mom logged in multiple times before the transfer. She was watching your balance. She was waiting for it to hit 50K. Looks that way. I thanked him and hung up. Then I opened my phone and started typing. Tinsley, I know where the money came from. Stop pretending it's yours. She replied instantly. What are you even talking about? The 50K Dad transferred. My account. You're flaunting it all over social media. Another pause. Mom said you gave it to us. That you wanted to help. She lied. I was leaving Jarrett. That money was my escape. No response. I stared at the screen for 5 full minutes before locking the phone. Then I looked at Jade. They're all in it. Every one of them. Good, she said. Let them be. It makes the fall even better. I smiled, small and sharp. They thought they took my silence. They didn't know I'd been saving more than money. Tell me again why I'm pretending to be a wedding planner intern, I asked, tugging at the lanyard Jade had printed for me. Because your sister's too self-absorbed to notice anyone who isn't holding a camera or a champagne flute, she said, handing me a clipboard. You want to see the venue? This is how we do it. The vineyard was even more extravagant in person. Arched stone gates, white roses lining the path, a fountain that probably cost more than my first car. I walked in behind a real planner, nodding politely, clipboard in hand like I belonged. Tinsley was already there, spinning in front of a mirror in a tight white dress. Her laugh bounced off the walls like nails on glass. Oh my God, it's perfect, she squealed. Leighton's gonna lose his mind. I stayed in the back, snapping photos of the space, pretending to check off items on a fake checklist. Then I saw it. Her purse, slouched on a chair, half open. A folded paper poked out from the side. I moved closer. The receipt. I recognized the bank logo and the transfer amount without even touching it. She'd brought it with her, like a badge of honor. An assistant came over. Can you check the lighting near the altar setup? Sure, I said, stepping away, but not before snapping a photo of the purse and zooming in on the receipt. Back in the car, I showed Jade. She's literally carrying evidence of the theft, I said. She's not just flaunting it, she's bragging. Jade grinned. We're almost there. Later that night, I pulled up Leighton's name in a public records database. Jade had given me access through her friend. Check this out, I said, pointing to a list of liens and collections. Leighton owed over $80,000 in gambling debt. Multiple creditors. One had already filed a lawsuit. Jade leaned over. And yet he's booking private chefs and custom tuxes like he's royalty. I clicked through his Instagram. Photos of luxury watches, poker tables, a new car. All posted within the last month. "Where's that money coming from?" I asked. "Not from him," Jade said. "You think your parents know?" I shook my head. "They only see what they want to." We drafted an anonymous tip and sent it to one of the creditors, attaching screenshots of Leighton's recent purchases and the wedding registry full of high-ticket items. "Let's see how long that little empire holds," Jade said. The next morning, Ivan called. "You can now legally freeze the joint account that funded the wedding," he said. "Want me to?" I didn't hesitate. "Do it." He paused. "You sure? This will trigger a notification." "Good," I said. "Let them feel it." Within hours, the fallout began. First, the venue called to confirm a bounced payment. Then the florist. Then the photographer. Each one left voicemails with increasing panic. By afternoon, Tinsley's Instagram was full of cryptic posts. "People are so fake. You give, and they still try to ruin you. Some people can't stand to see you happy. That's their problem, not mine." Jade laughed. "She's spiraling." That night, I got a knock on my motel door. I looked through the peephole and froze. Jarrett. I backed away, heart racing. He knocked again, harder. "Marissa, open the door." I didn't move. "I know you're in there. You think you can leave and blow up the whole damn family? You think people aren't talking?" I stayed silent. "You're going to come home. We're going to fix this. You don't get to walk away." My phone was already in my hand. I hit record. "You're my wife," he growled. "You don't get to ruin everyone else's life, too." I waited until I heard footsteps retreat. Then I called Jade. He found me. "I'm calling the police," she said. "We're filing a report. Tonight." 2 hours later, I sat in a small station office, showing the officer photos of bruises, texts, and the voicemail I'd just recorded. He nodded slowly. "We'll file a restraining order. And if he shows up again, he's going in." I signed the paperwork with shaking hands. But I didn't cry. Back at the motel, I collapsed onto the bed. Jade handed me a glass of water. "You okay?" "No," I said. "But I'm not scared anymore." She nodded. "Good, because it's only going to get messier." I looked at the screen again. Tinsley's latest post was a video of her crying in the back seat of a car. Why is this happening to me? I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered the receipt in her purse. The smile on her face when she twirled in that dress. They thought I was gone. Powerless. Alone. They forgot the quiet ones are the ones you should be most afraid of. The first vendor to pull out was the photographer. "Hi, this is Dana from Golden Lens," her voicemail said. "We're canceling our services due to non-payment. Please settle the outstanding balance to rebook." Then the florist. Then the caterer. By noon, the vineyard called. "We've received notice that the payment account has been frozen. We'll need full balance by Friday, or the date will be released." I sat in the motel room, listening to each message with Jade beside me, her face unreadable. "Feels like justice," she finally said. I nodded. "Feels like the start." We sent another anonymous tip, this time to the charity board my mom chaired. We included screenshots of the fraudulent bank activity, the forged signature, and the fact that she used stolen money to fund a luxury wedding. "Think they'll care?" I asked. "They care about appearances," Jade said. "Let's see how they like this one." An hour later, my dad showed up at the motel. I opened the door just enough to see his face. He looked tired. Older. Like the weight of everything was finally cracking through his carefully polished exterior. "Can we talk?" he asked. Jade stood behind me, arms crossed. "She's not alone." He glanced at her, then back at me. "I'm not here to fight. I want this to stop." I stepped outside, pulling the door shut behind me. You stole from me. I didn't know she was going to take all of it, but you knew she took something, and you let it happen. He rubbed his face. Look, I brought something. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an envelope. 10,000. It's all I could get without your mother noticing. I didn't take it. That's not even a quarter of what you owe me. It's a start. No, I said. It's a bribe. He looked hurt. Marissa, please. You're tearing this family apart. No, I said again. You did. I turned and walked back inside. Jade locked the door behind me. You okay? She asked. I nodded. He thinks money can fix this. That's rich, considering they used yours to pay for a party. That night I mailed out 5 identical manila envelopes. Inside each one, copies of the forged bank documents, screenshots of Tinsley's posts, and a note that read, "Is this the kind of leadership your board supports?" I didn't sign it. By morning, the fallout had started. My mom's name disappeared from the charity's website. A vague statement was posted online about realigning leadership for ethical transparency. Jade held up her phone. They're cutting her loose. I smiled. Good. And then, the meltdown began. Tinsley's Instagram went live. She was crying, makeup streaked, hair in a messy bun. I don't know why this is happening, she sobbed. People are trying to ruin my life. My wedding is falling apart. My fiancé is being harassed. I don't know what I did to deserve this. Jade snorted. She doesn't know? She doesn't want to. Then the message came. From Leighton. What the hell is going on? My accounts are being flagged and I'm getting calls from creditors. Did you leak something? I didn't reply. I just screenshot it and saved it. Later that day, the vineyard officially canceled the wedding date. I knew because Tinsley posted a black screen with one word, devastated. Then she called me. I let it go to voicemail. You think you're so smart, don't you? You ruined everything. My wedding, my relationship, my life. I hope you're happy. You're sick. I saved that one too. That night, Jade and I sat on the motel bed, watching the chaos unfold from our phones. This is what happens, she said, when people think they're untouchable. They forget who they're standing on, I said. The next morning, there was another knock on the door. This time, it was the police. Jarrett Ferguson has been arrested, the officer said. Violation of a restraining order. He showed up at your workplace this morning. I blinked. I haven't been back there yet. He was asking for you. Security called us. I nodded. Thank you. After they left, I sat down on the edge of the bed. My hands were steady, my breathing calm. Jade looked at me. You're winning. I shook my head. I'm surviving. She didn't argue. An hour later, Ivan called. The bank's fraud department has reviewed the case, he said. They're filing formal charges, and the joint account your parents used, it's being locked for investigation. I leaned against the wall. What does that mean for them? They could lose their assets, the home, anything tied to that account. I didn't say anything. He paused. You okay? I will be. That night, I got one last message from Tinsley. You destroyed everything. I hope it was worth it. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back. You cut my wings. I just learned how to fly without them. Jarrett's mugshot was the first thing I saw when I opened my phone. Jade burst into the motel room, holding a printout. He's officially booked. Violation of restraining order. They picked him up outside your office building. I took the paper from her. His eyes were bloodshot, jaw clenched. That same look he used to give me right before the yelling started. Bail denied, Jade added. Judge saw the report, the bruises, the voicemails. He's not walking out this time. I sat down slowly. I didn't think it would actually happen. She handed me a cup of coffee. You did the work. You kept the records. You stood up. I looked at her. What now? She smiled. Now we go for the rest. That afternoon, we filed the civil suit against my parents. Forgery, fraud, unauthorized access to funds. The court clerk didn't blink when she stamped the papers, just handed me a copy and said, "You'll get a notice for the hearing." I walked out of the courthouse feeling lighter than I had in years. 2 days later, the news hit our community paper. Not front page, but close enough. Local couple faces. Allegations of financial misconduct in family dispute. Beneath it, a photo of my parents at a charity gala, smiling like they hadn't just wrecked their daughter's life. Jade tossed the paper on the bed. "They're done." I picked it up. Not yet. The next day, I got a message from someone I hadn't heard from in years, Leighton's ex-girlfriend. We'd met once at a party, years ago. "Hey, I heard what's going on. You should know Leighton's been using fake financial statements to get credit. He owes a lot more than people think. I have screenshots if you want them." I replied instantly. "Yes, please send everything." She did. Bank statements, texts, even a photo of a bounced check from a luxury rental service. I forwarded it all to one of his biggest creditors. By the end of the week, Leighton had backed out of the wedding entirely. Tinsley posted a black and white photo of herself holding her veil in her lap, captioned, "Sometimes love isn't enough." Jade rolled her eyes. She's acting like she just got ghosted, not like her fiancé bailed under a mountain of debt. "She's still trying to be the victim," I said. "She's got no one left to play the part for." Then came the lien. Ivan called me personally. "The fraud department moved fast," he said. "The home your parents own was tied to the same account used for the wedding expenses. Since the funds are under investigation, the bank has placed a lien on the property. They're going to lose the house, unless they can pay back the full amount, which, judging by the account balance, they can't." I didn't say anything for a moment. Then, "Thank you, Ivan. You deserve peace, Marissa. I hope this gives you some." That night, I got a call from my mom. I let it go to voicemail. "You've gone too far. You've embarrassed us. Your father can't show his face at work. Tinsley's devastated. You think you've won? You've ruined your family. You'll regret this." I saved it. Labeled it Final Threat. The next morning, I got a call from the restaurant hosting what was supposed to be the rehearsal dinner. "Hi, this is Megan from Olive and Vine," she said. "We had a card on file for the Rose Night party, but it was declined. We've tried contacting the family, but no response. Do you know if the event is still happening?" I smiled. "You might want to cancel that reservation." I hung up and looked at Jade. "You ready?" She nodded. "Let's go." We drove to the restaurant, parked across the street, and waited. They showed up right on time. My mom in a beige wrap dress, my dad trailing behind her, and Tinsley in a tight black cocktail dress, sunglasses on even though it was cloudy. They walked in, heads high. 5 minutes later, they walked out. Tinsley was yelling. My mom was on the phone, face red. My dad just stood there, hands in his pockets, defeated. We stayed in the car, watching from behind tinted windows. "You want to talk to them?" Jade asked. I shook my head. "Not yet, but I did send one last message. To Tinsley. The wedding's off. The house is under lien. Leighton's gone. And you still think I'm the villain?" Her reply came in seconds. "You think you're better than us? You're nothing. Just a bitter, jealous freak who couldn't keep her husband." I stared at the screen. Then I typed back, "I didn't want to keep him. I wanted to survive him." No response. Jade looked over. "You ready to walk away?" I nodded. "Almost." The next day, Ivan called. "The bank board approved a financial settlement for you," he said. "They're offering a full reimbursement plus damages, and the fraud case is moving to civil court." I closed my eyes. "Thank you." He paused. "You did this, Marissa. You saved yourself." I hung up and looked around the motel room. The same beige walls, the same humming heater. But I wasn't the same. I was free, and I wasn't done yet. The restaurant was nearly empty when I walked in. Just a few scattered tables, a bored hostess, and the sound of silverware clinking against plates. The rehearsal dinner that never was had been reduced to a sad little corner table with 3 people and no reservation. My mother looked up first. Her face froze. Tinsley turned slowly, eyes wide. "You." I kept walking until I stood at the edge of their table. No smile, no greeting, just a folder in my hand and a calm I didn't recognize in myself. "What are you doing here?" my mother asked, voice sharp. "I figured since you all gathered anyway, I'd stop by for a little family meeting." "We're not doing this here," she hissed. "Oh, we are," I said, placing the folder on the table. "Go ahead. Open it." My dad reached for it, hesitated, then opened the flap. His hands trembled as he pulled out the papers. Bank statements, screenshots, the forged digital signature, the email from the charity board, all of it. Tinsley leaned over to look, her mouth slightly open. "What is this?" "Proof," I said, "of everything." "I don't understand," she said. "Mom told me—" "Go ahead," I said, turning to her. "Say it." She looked at my mom. "You said she gave it to us, that she wanted to help." My mother's jaw clenched. "I said no such thing." "You did," Tinsley snapped. "You told me she was fine with it, that she didn't need it." "Don't twist my words," my mom said, her voice rising. "Are you kidding me?" Tinsley's voice cracked. "You told me to take the money. You said she was being dramatic and that I deserved a proper wedding." My dad rubbed his face with both hands. "Can we not do this here?" "No," I said. "This is exactly where we do it." My mother stood. "You're a disgrace. You've humiliated this family. You've destroyed your sister's future." I tilted my head. "You mean the wedding that never happened? The fiancé with a gambling addiction? The house under lien? That future? You'll regret this," she spat. I stepped closer. "I already did. Every time I let you talk me into silence. Every time I stayed with a man who hit me because you said marriage was hard. Every time I made myself small so Tinsley could shine." My mother's face twisted. "You're sick." "No," I said. "I'm finally sane." Tinsley stood now too, shaking her head. "You ruined everything." "You ruined it yourselves," I said. "I just turned on the lights." The waiter approached, looking nervous. Sorry to interrupt, but the card on file was declined. We'll need another form of payment." My mother's face went pale. "I'll call the bank." "It's frozen," I said. "Remember? Fraud investigation." She looked like she might scream. The waiter awkwardly stepped back. "I'll give you a moment." I turned to leave. "You think you're better than us?" my mother called after me. "No," I said over my shoulder. "I'm just not like you." I walked out into the night, the door closing behind me like the final page of a book. Jade was waiting in the car across the street. "How'd it go?" she asked. "They turned on each other." She smiled. "Told you they would." I buckled in. Tinsley finally realized Mom lied to her. She lost it. Good. Let them eat each other alive. We drove in silence for a while before my phone buzzed. It was Ivan. "The board approved your settlement," he said. "It'll be wired to your new account by next week." "And the fraud case?" "Moving to civil court. Your parents will be served within the month." I exhaled. "Thank you." "You earned it," he said. "All of it." After the call, Jade looked over at me. "So what now?" "I go home," I said. She raised an eyebrow. "You don't have one." "I will." We stopped at a gas station on the way back. While Jade filled up, I stood by the pump, staring up at the stars. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just breathed. When we got back to the motel, I opened my laptop and booked a one-way flight. New state. New name on the lease. New everything. Jade looked over my shoulder. You sure? I nodded. It's time. She hugged me. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me too. And for the first time in years, I meant it. The house was small. One story, white siding, a porch swing that creaked when the wind hit just right. I stood in the driveway with a cardboard box in my arms, heart thudding, keys in my pocket. Need help with that? A voice called. I turned. The neighbor across the street, a woman maybe in her 50s, waved from her front yard. She wore gardening gloves and a bright pink sun hat. I'm good, thanks, I said. She smiled. Welcome to the neighborhood. I nodded and carried the box inside. The place smelled like fresh paint and pine cleaner. I'd furnished it with the basics: thrift store couch, a mattress on the floor, a tiny kitchen table with mismatched chairs. But it was mine. Every inch of it. Paid for with the settlement. I set the box down and opened the blinds. Sunlight spilled in, warm and golden. Peaceful. My phone buzzed. It was Jade. You settled in yet? Just walked in. You deserve this. Proud of you. I typed back, couldn't have done it without you. She replied with a heart emoji and a picture of her dog in a sweater. I laughed. First time in a while, it didn't feel forced. Later that afternoon, I drove to a nearby park. There was a walking trail, quiet and shaded. I didn't bring headphones. I just walked, letting the sounds of birds and rustling leaves fill the silence. Halfway through the loop, I stopped at a bench. A man sat at the far end, reading a paperback. He looked up, gave a polite nod, then went back to his book. I sat down. After a few minutes, he glanced over. You new in town? Yeah, I said. Just moved in. Welcome, he said. It's quiet, but in a good way. That's what I was hoping for. He smiled. I'm Eli. Marissa. He nodded, then held up his book. You read? Used to. Start again, he said. It helps. We sat in silence after that. It wasn't awkward, just calm. When I got home, there was a letter in the mailbox. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. I opened it on the porch. You got what you wanted. I hope it was worth it. Dad's trying to fix things, but we both know he can't. Tinsley won't talk to me. The house is quiet. Too quiet. I hope you sleep well at night. No signature. Just bitterness on paper. I folded it and dropped it in the trash. Inside, I unpacked the last box. At the bottom was the locket from my grandmother. I held it in my hand for a moment, then placed it on the bookshelf. The next morning, I had my first therapy appointment. The office was bright, full of plants and soft music. The therapist, a kind-eyed woman named Carla, offered me tea. So, she said, what brings you in today? I looked at her. I'm trying to figure out who I am now. She nodded. That's a good place to start. We talked for an hour. About the marriage, the money, the betrayal, the rage. She didn't flinch, didn't judge, just listened. When it was over, I stepped outside and stood in the sun for a while. I wasn't healed, not yet, but I was safe. A week later, I ran into Eli again at the park. You read anything yet? He asked. Started something last night. He smiled. Good. Want to grab coffee sometime? I paused. Maybe. No pressure, he said. Just figured I'd ask. I nodded. Thanks. At home, I made dinner. Pasta. Nothing fancy. I ate at the kitchen table, phone face down, music playing low. No yelling. No footsteps. No eggshells. Just me. I opened my laptop and pulled up the court docket. Jarrett's trial was scheduled. My parents' civil case was moving forward. Tinsley had filed for bankruptcy. I closed the tab. I didn't need to watch the rest fall. I'd already walked away from the fire. After dinner, I sat on the porch swing and watched the sky turn pink. The neighbor waved again from across the street. I waved back. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Jade. "You okay?" I stared at the screen for a moment, then typed back. "I lost a family. But maybe they were never mine to begin with." I created my escape, and Justice walked with me out the door. I hit send. Then I looked up at the fading sky and whispered, "Karma didn't need my help." I smiled. But it sure looked damn good in a silk dress when it showed up at the wedding.
"You know we love you, but we just can't afford 2 private tuitions." That was the moment I stopped chewing. Fork halfway to my mouth, frozen. The words were casual, tossed out like a weather report. My mum reached for the bread basket like she hadn't just carved open my chest and spit inside. I looked at my dad. He didn't meet my eyes, just kept sipping his wine, swirling it like he was some Wall Street sommelier, instead of a guy who'd just told his daughter her dreams weren't worth the investment. My name's Annabelle, and that was the night I realised I was on my own. "Gage got into Yale," my mum added, smiling like she'd won something. "We're going to make it work for him. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." I was 17. I had a 4.3 GPA, had worked 2 part-time jobs since sophomore year, and had just gotten into Northwestern with a partial scholarship. But Gage had potential. Gage was the golden boy. I pushed my plate away. "Community college has great programs," my dad said, finally looking at me. "You're practical. You'll make it work." I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just nodded, stood up, and walked upstairs. That was the last family dinner I ever attended voluntarily. 2 weeks later, I was enrolled at Westfield Community College. I got a job at a dry cleaner during the day and took classes at night. I lived on instant noodles and vending machine coffee. My parents called sometimes, usually to brag about Gage's latest debate win or his networking dinners. I'd listen, say, "That's great," and hang up before they could ask how I was doing. They didn't really want to know. I started freelancing, small business consulting, mostly for local shops trying to survive the Amazon era. I'd help them streamline their inventory, set up digital payment systems, rebrand their websites. Word spread. I was good. Better than good. One night, after finishing a logo redesign for a bakery, I checked my email and saw it. A photo attachment from my mum. Subject line, "So proud of our boy." I clicked it. Gage, in his cap and gown, standing on the Yale lawn with my parents on either side of him. Champagne flutes raised, grins stretched wide. The kind of photo you frame and hang in the hallway. I wasn't in it. I stared at the screen for a long time, then closed the laptop and went back to scrubbing the bathroom floor. I'd picked up a second job at a gym to cover textbooks. The next morning, I texted Olivia. "You still hate your job?" she replied in seconds, with the fire of 1,000 suns. "I have an idea." We met at a diner off 6th Street. She was in a pencil skirt and heels, makeup flawless, but the circles under her eyes were deep enough to swim in. "I'm starting something," I told her. "Real consulting, not just side gigs. I've got 3 clients already. I need someone to help me scale." She blinked. "You're serious?" "I'm broke, exhausted, and running on spite. I've never been more serious." She leaned back in the booth, smiling slowly. "Let's burn it all down." We started in my apartment. 1 desk, 2 laptops, and a whiteboard we stole from her old office after hours. We called ourselves A&O Strategies. It sounded like a law firm. Clients like that. I didn't sleep much. I didn't date. I didn't go out. Every dollar went back into the business. Every win felt like a middle finger to the people who thought I'd settle for practical. A year in, we landed our first 6-figure contract with a regional grocery chain. I called my mum that night just to see if she'd ask how I was. She didn't. "Gage just got offered a summer internship in DC, she said. "He's such a natural leader." I hung up before she finished the sentence. A few months later, I saw Gage's post on LinkedIn. "Thrilled to announce my promotion to Strategic Director at Linton Partners." There was a photo of him in a suit, leaning on a glass railing like he owned the skyline. I stared at it for a while, then clicked on the comments. All congratulations. All fluff. But something didn't sit right. I called Olivia. Can you look into Linton Partners? She called back 20 minutes later. He was let go 3 weeks ago, downsizing. That post is fake. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. For the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their money. I was building something they couldn't even see, let alone understand. But I wasn't done. Not yet. They taught me to survive without them. Now they were going to learn what I'd become. Okay, but hear me out, Olivia said, balancing a takeout box on her knee. What if we stop calling it a project and start calling it a firm? I looked up from my laptop, eyes burning from 10 straight hours of spreadsheets. We don't even have an office. She gestured around the cramped apartment. This is an office. It has a desk, a printer, and a CEO who hasn't showered in 3 days. 2, I muttered. She grinned. Progress. We were living off caffeine, adrenaline, and the occasional stolen Wi-Fi from the neighbour's unlocked router. But the work kept coming. Word of mouth was faster than any ad campaign. One coffee shop owner told a florist. The florist told a boutique. The boutique told a yoga studio. Suddenly we were booked out 3 months. Our first real test came with a logistics company in Jersey. They were bleeding money and didn't know why. I spent 3 nights tearing through their books, rewriting their supply chain strategy from scratch. Olivia handled the client meetings, smoothed egos, and translated my bluntness into something resembling diplomacy. When they wired the payment, $45,000, I stared at the screen for a full minute. Is that a typo? I asked. Nope, Olivia said, popping open a bottle of cheap champagne. That's our worth. I didn't cry, but I did sit on the floor and let the bubbles go to my head. We moved into a tiny office downtown. Brick walls, flickering fluorescent lights, and a leaky ceiling, but it was ours. We painted the walls white, bought used furniture off Craigslist and slapped our logo on the door. A&O Strategies. No one needed to know it stood for Annabelle and Olivia. We hired our first intern, a college kid named Marcus who thought we were badass. We paid him in coffee and experience until we could afford more. He didn't complain. One afternoon, while Olivia was out meeting a client, my phone buzzed. Dad. Just checking in. How's your little project going? I stared at the message. Little project. I typed and deleted 5 different replies before settling on. Me. It's going. He didn't respond. Later that night, Olivia came back from her meeting with a smirk. You'll love this, she said. Guess who I ran into? God. To apologise? She laughed. No. Your brother's old friend, Tyler. The one who used to call you boss baby. I rolled my eyes. What does he want? He just got laid off. Said Gage might be next. I paused. Seriously? She nodded. Apparently Gage's promotion was more like a reshuffling. They're trimming the fat. I leaned back in my chair, letting that sink in. Huh! Olivia raised an eyebrow. You okay? Yeah, I said. Just processing. I didn't gloat, not out loud. But inside something shifted. The pedestal they built for him was starting to crack. That weekend, I skipped sleep and built a new proposal for a chain of wellness spas. Olivia reviewed it Monday morning, coffee in hand. This is brilliant, she said. You sure you don't want to sleep first? I'll sleep when we hit 7 figures. She laughed, but I wasn't joking. The next few months were a blur. We landed 3 new clients, doubled our revenue, and finally hired a full-time assistant. I started wearing real blazers instead of hoodies. Olivia made me get business cards. We were still working 12-hour days, but now they came with catered lunches and a cleaning service. I even upgraded from instant noodles to actual groceries. My fridge had vegetables. That felt like success. Then one night, I got tagged in a post. Gage, standing in front of a skyline, captioned, "Grateful for new beginnings. Onward and upward." No company name, no job title. I clicked on the comments, all vague congratulations, no specifics. I texted Olivia. He's lying again, she replied with a screenshot from a recruiter site. Gage's profile was marked open to work. I stared at it, thumb hovering over the screen. Then I locked my phone and went back to work. That Friday, Olivia and I sat in our office, eating Thai takeout and reviewing quarterly numbers. We're going to need more people, she said. Real hires, not just interns. Ibrahim's coming in next week, I said. He might be a fit for HR. She nodded. Good. We're getting too big to wing it. I opened a new spreadsheet. Let's plan out the hiring funnel. Before we could start, my phone buzzed again. Mom. Can we talk? It's about your brother. I stared at the message. Olivia glanced over. Everything okay? I showed her the screen. She raised an eyebrow. You gonna call back? I shrugged. Let's finish the funnel first. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. They never called about me. Not when I got my first client, not when I moved into the office, not when I paid off my student loans in full. But now, when their golden boy was slipping. Now they wanted to talk. I didn't know what they'd ask. But I knew one thing for sure. I was ready to answer. The event was called Pitch and Pour, which basically meant overpriced cocktails and a lineup of tech bros trying to sell apps no one needed. Olivia and I went because 2 of our clients were sponsoring it, and networking never hurt, especially when half the room was drunk and bragging. I was halfway through a flat gin and tonic when I heard the voice. Still the same, huh? Cheap drinks, loud music, and a desperate crowd. I turned. Jake. Same smug smirk. Same gelled hair. Same tailored blazer that screamed, I still think I'm 22 and important. Jake, I said flatly. Annabelle. He gave me a once-over. Wow, you look successful. I am, I smiled. And you look like you're pivoting. He laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. You heard about the app? Which one? The one that tracked your friends' moods, or the one that helped you optimize your brunch schedule? Funny. He sipped his drink. We're rebranding. It's a lifestyle platform now. That sounds like something you say when you're out of money. He blinked, then laughed again. You always had bite. I remember that. I didn't respond. Olivia appeared at my side, eyes narrowing. Everything good here? She asked. Peachy, I said. Jake was just explaining how failure is the new innovation. Jake raised his glass. To reinvention. We left him standing there and headed toward the stage. A guy in a hoodie was pitching a budgeting app for freelancers. It was terrible, but the crowd clapped anyway. I hate this place, Olivia muttered. Same, I said. Let's make it worth it. During the Q&A, I raised my hand. Your monetization model assumes a 30% user conversion rate. What data supports that? The guy stammered. Olivia leaned over. You're such a menace. 2 investors came up to us afterward. We chatted, exchanged cards, and set up meetings. Jake watched from across the room, his jaw tight. Later, in the Uber, Olivia turned to me. You know he used to call you delusional behind your back, right? I know, I said. You crushed him tonight. I looked out the window. Didn't feel like anything. The next day, I was back at the office before sunrise. My inbox was overflowing, and Ibrahim was waiting in the lobby with a sack of resumes. We reviewed them over coffee. He was calm, methodical, and sharp, the kind of person who didn't waste words. I like him, I told Olivia after he left. Let's bring him on. Done, she said. Also, your mum called again. I froze. She left a voicemail, Olivia added. I didn't listen. I nodded and pulled out my phone. The message was short. Hi, sweetheart. Your brother. He's having a hard time. Can we talk? I played it twice. Her voice sounded tired, not sad, just inconvenienced. I deleted it and went back to work. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Jake's face, the investor's interest, the look in Olivia's eyes when I tore through that pitch. I'd won. Again. But it didn't feel like a win. The next morning, I was in the middle of a Zoom call when my phone buzzed. Mum. Please, lunch, just us. I stared at the message, then typed a reply. Me. Fine. Friday, noon. The bistro. Olivia looked up from her desk. You sure? No, I said. But I'm going. Friday came fast. I wore a navy suit and heels sharp enough to stab. They were already at the table when I arrived. My mum in pearls, my dad in a blazer he'd probably worn to Gage's graduation. Annabelle, my mum said, standing to kiss my cheek. I let her, then sat. The waiter came. We ordered. Small talk. Weather. The traffic. My dad asked if I still lived in that little apartment. I own a condo now, I said. Oh, my mum said, blinking. That's nice. Silence. Then she leaned in. It's Gage. I waited. He's struggling, she said. He lost his job. He's been applying, but nothing's sticking. He's depressed, my dad added. Withdrawn. We're worried. I picked up my water. And? Well, my mum said, we thought maybe you could help. I raised an eyebrow. Put in a good word, she said. Maybe at your company? My fork clinked against the plate. You want me to get him a job? It's just an entry-level position, my dad said. He needs structure, a place to rebuild. I looked at them. The same people who told me to be practical, who funded his Ivy League education and sent me to community college, who never once asked how I was doing when I was working 2 jobs and eating canned soup. I smiled. Sure, I said. I'll see what I can do, my mum exhaled. Thank you, sweetheart. We knew you'd understand. I paid the bill before they could argue. Back at the office, I walked into Olivia's office. Set up an interview, I said. Entry level, no favours. She looked up. For who? My brother. She blinked. Seriously? Yep. She studied my face. You're not doing this out of kindness. Nope. She didn't ask anything else, just nodded and opened her laptop. As I walked out, I passed Ibrahim in the hallway. Hey, I said. You might be getting a new team member soon. He raised an eyebrow. Should I be worried? I smiled. Not at all. Just keep a close eye. That night, I poured a glass of wine and opened a blank document. I typed out the job offer, and at the bottom, I signed it. Annabelle. Chief Executive Officer. I hit print. Gage showed up 20 minutes late to his interview. Olivia watched him swagger through the glass doors like he owned the place, sunglasses still on, coffee in hand. She didn't say a word, just buzzed Ibrahim's office and let him know the candidate had arrived. I watched everything from the security feed in my office. He didn't recognise Olivia. That was the first red flag. She stood to greet him, hand extended. Hi, I'm Olivia. Thanks for coming in. He barely glanced at her. You the assistant? She blinked. I'm the COO. Oh, he laughed. Right, sorry, never mind. He sat down without being asked. I muted the volume and leaned back in my chair. Olivia was a pro, calm, collected, polite. Gage, on the other hand, leaned back like he was on a date, arms stretched, talking with his hands, interrupting every few seconds. Ibrahim entered 5 minutes later. Gage stood and shook his hand firmer this time, probably assumed the man in the suit was the real decision-maker. They moved into the conference room. I watched the door close, then turned back to my laptop. An hour later, Olivia walked in. Well, she said, your brother's still a jackass. I looked up. Tell me everything. He called me sweetheart twice, said he was overqualified but willing to help us out, asked if we had a golf membership perk. I laughed. What did Ibrahim say? He smiled, took notes, didn't say much. Perfect. She sat down. You really want to hire him? I want to see what happens when he doesn't get special treatment. She raised an eyebrow. You're playing with fire. I'm fireproof. The next day, I sent the offer letter. Entry-level analyst. Salary just above minimum wage. No perks. No title fluff. Real work. Real hours. He accepted within the hour. His first day was Monday. He walked in wearing a designer blazer and no clue what he was walking into. Olivia greeted him again. This time he remembered her title. Looking forward to working with you, he said, trying to sound humble. She handed him a welcome packet and pointed toward Ibrahim's office. Your manager's waiting, he blinked. Oh, I thought I'd be working with someone more senior. You are, she said. Ibrahim's the head of the department. He looked confused but followed instructions. I watched from my office, door shut. I didn't plan to interact. Not yet. By Wednesday, Ibrahim had already sent me 3 flagged emails, missed deadlines, incomplete reports. Gage had asked a junior associate to handle the boring parts of a client brief. I called Olivia in. Keep him on a short leash, I said. He's already tangling it around his neck, she replied. By Friday, he'd submitted a pitch deck with entire paragraphs copied from a competitor's website. Ibrahim walked into my office, closed the door behind him. We have a problem, he said, laying the printed pages on my desk. I scanned them, word for word. Fire him, I said. Ibrahim hesitated. Are you sure? I looked up. Would you be asking if he wasn't my brother? He didn't answer. I sighed. No, don't fire him. Not yet. He raised an eyebrow. Make him fix it. Set a deadline. No help. If he fails, then we let him go. Ibrahim nodded slowly. Understood. That weekend my parents showed up, unannounced. I was at the office, working late, when the receptionist buzzed me. There's a couple here asking for you. They say they're your parents. I stared at the phone. Send them to conference room B. They walked in 10 minutes later. My mum was holding a tin of cookies. My dad looked like he hadn't slept. Annabelle, she said, smiling too wide. We were in the area. I didn't offer them a seat. What do you want? She blinked. Just checking in. How's Gage doing? I crossed my arms. You should ask him. We did, my dad said. He says it's challenging. I said nothing. My mom stepped forward. We're just worried. He's not used to this kind of environment. You mean one where he actually has to work? She flinched. That's not fair. No, I said. What's not fair is watching him coast through life while I clawed my way out of a hole you dug for me. My dad cleared his throat. We didn't come here to argue. Then why are you here? They exchanged a look. Maybe you could mentor him, my mum said. Guide him a little. I laughed loudly. You want me to babysit your grown son? We just want him to succeed, she said. I stared at them. You should have thought about that 10 years ago. They left without saying goodbye. Monday morning, Gage was in early. He looked tired. The deck had been redone. It wasn't good, but it wasn't plagiarized. Ibrahim handed it to me. Your call. I read it, then slid it back. Let him present it. Sink or swim. Ibrahim nodded. As Gage walked by my office later, he glanced in. Our eyes met for half a second. I didn't smile. He looked away. Good. Let him feel it. Let him earn it. Or don't. Gage showed up for his first big client presentation, wearing a blazer 2 sizes too tight and a smile like he was about to charm his way out of doing actual work. I watched from the observation room behind the one-way glass, arms crossed, sipping a coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. Ibrahim stood at the front of the conference room, setting up the screen. Gage leaned against the table, scrolling through his phone like he was waiting for bottle service. Is he seriously texting right now? Olivia asked, standing beside me. Wait for it, I said. The clients walked in, a trio from a mid-sized retail chain we were hoping to lock down for a full rebrand. Gage straightened up, flashed his teeth, and stepped forward before Ibrahim could open his mouth. Welcome, welcome, Gage said, extending his hand. You're in good hands today. I'll be walking you through our strategy. Ibrahim didn't flinch. He just returned to the laptop and clicked to the first slide. Gage launched into the pitch like he was auditioning for Shark Tank. Buzzwords. Empty promises. No data. He even cracked a joke about millennial attention spans that landed like a brick. One of the clients glanced at his watch. Another scribbled something in a notebook. Ibrahim stepped in halfway through, gently redirecting the conversation, grounding it with actual numbers and projections. Gage looked annoyed, like someone had interrupted his solo. When it ended, the clients nodded politely and left with tight smiles. Ibrahim closed his laptop. Gage leaned back in his chair. Crushed it, he said. I turned to Olivia. He's delusional, she sighed. You want me to talk to him? No, I said. Let him keep thinking he's winning. Later that afternoon, I passed Gage in the hallway. He didn't say anything. Just nodded like we were colleagues, like he didn't know I was the one who'd signed his offer letter. I stopped at the break room. Marcus, one of our junior analysts, was making coffee. Hey, I said. How's it going? He glanced around, then leaned in. Gage told me to redo his report, said it was beneath him. I clenched my jaw. Did you? No, Marcus said. I told Ibrahim. Good. I walked back to my office, shut the door, and pulled up Gage's employee file. He was 3 weeks in. No improvements, no accountability, but I wasn't done with him yet. The next morning, I called Ibrahim. I want him on the next internal review panel, I said. Ibrahim raised an eyebrow. He's not qualified. Exactly, he nodded. Understood. The panel was a monthly meeting where department heads reviewed ongoing projects and gave feedback. It wasn't glamorous, just charts, metrics, and real talk. Gage showed up late. Again. He slid into the seat next to Ibrahim, whispering something with a smirk. Ibrahim didn't respond. As the first analyst presented, Gage scrolled on his phone. When it was his turn to comment, he said, "Looks solid, just make it pop more." I saw Olivia's eye twitch from across the table. The next presenter was a junior designer. She'd been working on a rebrand campaign for a boutique hotel chain. Her mock-ups were clean, smart, and backed by solid market research. Gage leaned forward. "Have you considered using more gold? It feels cheap." She blinked. "The client asked for minimalist." "Minimalist doesn't have to mean boring," he said, waving a hand. I cleared my throat. Every head turned. I stood from the back of the room. "Gage," I said, "do you know the client's target demographic?" He blinked. Upscale travellers?" "Wrong. Mid-range families, budget conscious. They specifically requested neutral tones to avoid alienating their base." He opened his mouth, closed it. I turned to the designer. "Your work is on point. Proceed." She smiled, relieved. I looked back at Gage. "Stay after." The room emptied fast. He stood awkwardly, hands in his pockets. "What's up?" he asked, trying to sound casual. I walked to the front of the room. "Do you know who I am?" He frowned. "What?" "I mean, really, do you know what I do here?" He hesitated. "You're in upper management, right?" I stepped aside and pointed at the plaque on the wall behind me. The one with my name. The one that said CEO. He stared at it, then at me. "No way," he said. I didn't smile. "You've been working here for 3 weeks. You've disrespected your co-workers, ignored instructions, and failed every basic expectation. And you didn't even bother to learn who runs the company." He looked like he'd been slapped. I didn't know," he stammered. "I know. That's the problem." He looked down. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I wanted to see who you really are when no one's watching." Silence. "I gave you a chance," I said. "Not because I believed in you, but because I wanted you to see what it feels like to earn something." He swallowed hard. "Are you going to fire me?" "No," I said. "Not yet. You're going to fix your attitude. You're going to do the work. And if I hear one more complaint, you're out." He nodded, eyes wide. "Dismissed." He walked out slower than usual. Olivia stepped in a minute later. "You finally told him?" "Yeah." She sat down. "How'd it feel?" I looked at the plaque. "Like the beginning of something," she nodded. "Or the end." I didn't answer. I just stared at the door he'd walked through and waited. Gage lasted exactly 4 days before screwing up again. This time, he emailed a client the wrong deck, one from a completely different industry. The client was confused. Ibrahim was livid. Olivia forwarded me the chain with a subject line that just read, "He's testing your patience, right?" I called Ibrahim. "Let him fix it," I said. "He doesn't know how." "Then he'll learn." I hung up before I could change my mind. That afternoon, I watched Gage from my office window. He sat at his desk, hunched over, clicking and deleting, clicking and deleting. For once, he wasn't talking to anyone. No fake charm, no swagger, just a guy in a wrinkled shirt trying to dig himself out of a hole. He looked up and caught me watching. I didn't look away. Later that week, my parents showed up again. They didn't even call first, just walked into the lobby like they owned the place. The receptionist buzzed me. "Your parents are here again. Should I?" "Put them in the small conference room," I said. "I'll be there in 10. Olivia walked in as I was grabbing my tablet. "They really don't get it, do they?" "Nope." "You want me to sit in?" "No. I've got it." When I walked into the room, my mum was rearranging the chairs like she was hosting brunch. My dad was pacing. "Annabelle," she said, smiling. "We were just in the area again." "Cut the crap," I said, sitting. "What's going on?" My dad stopped pacing. "We're concerned." "About?" "Gage," my mum said. "He's not doing well." I waited. "He's overwhelmed," she continued. "He says the environment is hostile." I laughed. "Hostile? You mean accountable?" "He's not used to this kind of pressure," my dad said. I looked at them. Neither was I. "But you didn't seem too concerned back then." My mum's smile faltered. "We just want to make sure he's being treated fairly." "Fairly?" I leaned forward. "He's been handed more chances in 3 weeks than I got in 3 years." My dad's jaw clenched. We're not here to argue. Then what are you here for? They didn't answer. I stood. He'll either rise to the occasion or he won't. That's his problem now. My mum reached into her bag and pulled out a checkbook. I stared at it. We're behind on the mortgage, she said quietly. Your father's pension got cut. We thought maybe... I held up a hand. No, she blinked. Just to help us get through the... No. My dad looked at me like he didn't recognise me. We're your parents. And I was your daughter, until he came along. They didn't argue. I left the room. Olivia was waiting by the elevators. They asked for money? I nodded. Did you give it to them? No, she exhaled. Good. Back in my office, I sat down and stared at the ceiling. The satisfaction I thought I'd feel wasn't there. Just a dull ache in my chest and a lingering taste of something bitter. The next day, Gage was quiet. He didn't flirt with the receptionist. He didn't crack jokes in the break room. He sat at his desk and worked. Ibrahim knocked on my door around noon. He redid the deck, he said. It's not great, but it's clean, accurate. Progress, I said. Ibrahim hesitated. He asked if he could shadow one of the senior analysts. I raised an eyebrow. He said he wants to learn. I nodded. Let him. Ibrahim turned to leave, then paused. You know this is eating at you, right? I looked up. What? This game you're playing, it's not winning, it's bleeding. I didn't respond. He left. That night, Olivia and I stayed late, working through a proposal for a new healthcare client. You okay? She asked, not looking up from her laptop. I'm fine. You're lying, I sighed. They asked me for money. She closed her laptop. Wow. Mortgages behind, pensions cut. They didn't even try to hide it. And you said no? Yeah. Good. I stared at the wall. I thought it would feel better. Olivia leaned back. You've been climbing this mountain for 10 years, Belle, and now you're at the top, but you're still looking down. I didn't say anything. She stood, grabbed her coat. Just don't forget to look around once in a while. The office was quiet after she left. I walked out to the floor, past the rows of empty desks. Gage was still there. He looked up when I passed. Hey, he said. I stopped. Ibrahim said I could sit in on a client call tomorrow. Good, I said. He nodded. I'm trying. I looked at him. For the first time, I almost believed him. Keep trying, I said. That's all you've got. He nodded again, quieter this time. I walked away. Back in my office, I sat down and stared at the city lights outside. Everything I wanted was here. And yet, something still felt missing. But I wasn't done. Not yet. The receptionist buzzed my office just after 11 a.m. They're here. I stood, smoothed the front of my blazer, and walked to the elevator lobby. Martina, Leo and Gage were clustered near the water cooler, all three looking out of place in our sleek, glass-walled office. My mother clutched her purse like it was a lifeline. My father's mouth was set in a flat line. Gage looked like he hadn't slept in days. They didn't see me. Not yet. I nodded at the receptionist. Let them wait a few more minutes. She gave a slight smirk. Of course. I walked back into the executive suite and closed the door behind me. Olivia was already waiting at the long table, a tablet in hand. You sure you want to do this? She asked. Yes. She nodded. Then let's make it clean. I gave her a look. No blood, just truth. 5 minutes later, the receptionist buzzed again. They're ready. I pressed the intercom. Send them up. A few moments passed. Then came the knock. Come in, I said. The door opened. My parents stepped in first, followed by Gage. They froze. There it was, my name, etched in brushed steel on the wall behind me. CEO, large, unmistakable. Gage's eyes widened. My mother's mouth opened slightly. My father's face went pale. I gestured to the chairs across from me. Have a seat. No one moved. You're the CEO? My mother finally said. I am. Gage blinked. Since when? Since the beginning. He sat down slowly. My father remained standing. You've been lying to us. No. You just never asked. Olivia slid a folder across the table. Let's begin. My mother reached for it with trembling fingers. Inside were performance reviews, client feedback, and a formal notice of Gage's probation status. This is harsh, she whispered. It's honest, I said. This is how we treat every employee. No exceptions. Gage looked at me. You set me up. I gave you a job. You set yourself up. He leaned forward. You wanted me to fail. No, I said. I wanted you to see what it feels like to earn something. My father finally sat. You've changed. I had to. My mother looked at Olivia. You let this happen? Olivia smiled. I helped build it. Silence stretched across the room. Gage rubbed his temples. I didn't know. I thought you were just doing okay. I didn't think you were this. I leaned forward. You didn't think about me at all. He looked down. My mother cleared her throat. So what now? You keep him on? Let him suffer? I stared at her. He's an adult. He can choose to grow or go. That's up to him. My father stood. This is cruel. No, I said. This is karma. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. My mother's voice cracked. We're your family, I stood. You made that clear when you chose him over me. Over and over. She shook her head. We did what we thought was right. No, I said. You did what was easy. The room went quiet. Olivia tapped her tablet. We're done here. They stood. Gage lingered. I'm not asking for a handout, he said. Good, I replied. Because you won't get one. He nodded slowly. I'll do better. Then prove it. He walked out. My parents followed, silent. The door clicked shut behind them. Olivia exhaled. Damn. I sat back down. Think they got the message? She asked. They got something. She leaned forward. You okay? I looked at the empty chairs across from me. I don't know. She stood. I'll give you a minute. When she left, I turned to the window. Down below, I saw them exit the building. My mother clutched my father's arm. Gage walked behind them, slower, smaller. They didn't look back. I didn't expect them to. I picked up the folder they'd left behind. Inside was the final page of Gage's review. Ibrahim's notes were blunt but fair. Shows potential, needs direction, lacks humility. I closed it and set it aside. Then I looked at the plaque on the wall. Community college wasn't a punishment. It was prep. For this. The office was quiet. Too quiet. No ringing phones, no clacking keyboards, no Olivia yelling across the floor for someone to fix a formatting error. Just the low hum of the AC and the soft tap of my heels on the polished floor as I walked toward the glass wall. Gage's desk was empty. Ibrahim walked up beside me holding a folder. He didn't show up today, he said. Did he call? No, but he cleared out his things. I nodded. Okay. Ibrahim hesitated. You want me to follow up? No, let it go. He gave a short nod and walked away. I stood there a moment longer, staring at the empty chair, the same one I'd watched him slump in, fumble through reports, fake confidence, the same chair where I'd hoped, maybe, just maybe, he'd figure it out, but he didn't. And maybe he wasn't supposed to. Back in my office, Olivia was waiting, arms crossed. So, she said, he's gone. I sat down. Looks like it. She tossed a manila envelope onto my desk. Final paycheck. Ibrahim said to sign it. I opened it, pulled out the check and stared at the name. Do we mail it? Already did, she said. Along with his exit paperwork. I nodded. Thanks. Olivia didn't move. You okay? I'm fine. She frowned. You don't look fine. I leaned back. What does fine look like? Not like someone who just won the war and forgot how to celebrate. I didn't answer. She sat down across from me. You got what you wanted. They saw you. All of them. They saw everything. Yeah. And? I looked at her. And it didn't fix anything. Olivia was quiet for a moment. Then she said, maybe it wasn't supposed to. I glanced at the window. The city stretched out in every direction, tall and cold and full of people who didn't know or care what it took to get here. I thought it would feel like justice, I said. It was, she replied. Just not the kind that hugs you after. I laughed, a short, tired sound. She stood. You still seeing Rosalind? Skipped a few weeks. Go back. I picked up my phone and stared at the screen. I'll call her. Good. She walked to the door, then paused. You're not alone, Belle, even when it feels like it. I nodded. After she left, I sat there for a while, staring at the empty chair across from me. Then I picked up the phone and dialed. Rosalind speaking. It's Annabelle. Oh, she said, surprised. Hi, It's been a little while. Yeah, I know. You want to come in? I looked around my office, the awards on the shelf, the framed first check from our first client, the photo of Olivia and me on the day we opened this place. Yeah, I said. I think I do. Rosalind's office smelled like lavender and old books. She offered me tea, which I declined, and waited until I sat before speaking. You look tired, she said. I am, she nodded. Tell me. I took a breath. They came to my office. My parents. Gage. She raised an eyebrow. How did that go? They found out I'm the CEO. And? They were shocked. Then they were ashamed. Then they asked for money. She didn't flinch. Did you give it to them? No. Why not? Because they didn't earn it. She smiled faintly. And you did. I did. We sat in silence for a moment. And yet, she said, you're here. I thought revenge would feel better. Did it feel good at all? I nodded. At first. And now? It feels empty. Rosalind leaned forward. Because revenge doesn't rebuild, it only burns. I looked down at my hands. So what now? You decide what comes next. You've proven your worth. Now you get to figure out who you are without the weight of proving it. I didn't respond. She didn't push. When I left her office, the sun was already setting. I walked instead of calling a car. The streets buzzed with noise and traffic and life. I passed a bookstore, a bakery, a flower shop, all places I once helped survive. All places that trusted me before I had a title. My phone buzzed, a text from Gage. Thanks for the opportunity. I wasn't ready. I hope you keep building something great. No excuses, no blame, just honesty. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed, Despatis. I will. Take care of yourself. I didn't expect a reply. I didn't need one. Back at the office, I found Olivia in the break room, pouring herself a glass of wine. She held up the bottle. You in? I nodded. One glass. We sat on the couch, shoes off, the city glowing behind us. You know what they used to tell me? I said. What? That I was too practical. That I should be more like Gage, charming, bold, magnetic. Olivia raised her glass. Screw that. I clinked mine against hers. They wanted me to be practical. I took a sip. Now they know, I said. Karma is too.
The lasagna was still hot when my brother threw it at my feet. I watched the ceramic dish shatter, red sauce spreading across the kitchen tile like blood. My mother's voice cut through the silence. Clean it up, Alexandra, and make another one for your brother. He needs proper meals for his studies. My name is Alexandra, and I'm 19 years old. This is the story of how I destroyed my family and saved myself. I said this was garbage, Wyatt sneered, already heading back to his room. How's a future lawyer supposed to focus with food like this? I grabbed the paper towels, kneeling to clean up the mess. Hidden beneath the shattered dish was my half-finished scholarship essay, now soaked in marinara. 6 hours of work, ruined in seconds. But I kept my face neutral, the way I'd learned to do years ago. Sorry, I muttered, though no one was listening anymore. My mother had already followed Wyatt upstairs, probably to offer him takeout money. My phone buzzed. My boss at the cafe texting about picking up another shift. I typed back yes before she could give it to someone else. Triple shifts were killing me, but every dollar counted. Alexandra! My mother's heels clicked against the hardwood as she returned. Why haven't you started on the new lasagna yet? Your brother has a big test tomorrow. I have work in an hour. Work? She scoffed. That little cafe job? Wyatt is in law school. Law school, Alexandra. He's the family's future. She grabbed my arm, pulling me up. You just need to find a husband. Until then, you support your brother. That's what family does. I remembered the day they took my college fund. I'd just gotten my acceptance letter to the State University's engineering program. But Wyatt had also gotten into law school, and suddenly my future vanished into his tuition payments. Yes, Mother. I moved to the fridge, pulling out more ingredients. My father sat at the kitchen table, hidden behind his newspaper. He hadn't said a word during the entire incident. He never did. That's better, my mother said. And wear something nice to work. You never know when you might meet someone suitable. The moment she left, I pulled my real scholarship essay from inside my jacket. The one I'd been working on during my breaks at the cafe. The one about architecture, about building something from nothing, about escape. My father cleared his throat. For a moment, I thought he might say something, about the lasagna, about Wyatt, about anything. Instead, he just folded his newspaper and walked out. I heard Wyatt's music blasting from upstairs as I assembled the new lasagna. He was probably studying, which meant scrolling through social media while pretending to read case law. But he'd get perfect grades anyway. He always did, somehow. My phone buzzed again. Alexis from work. You coming in early again? Boss says there's a catering event. Extra tips. I looked at the clock. If I rushed the lasagna, I could make it. Every extra dollar was another step toward freedom. On my way, I texted back. The oven timer dinged just as I heard Wyatt thundering down the stairs. This better be edible, he called out. Unlike that trash from before, I set the dish on the counter, grabbed my bag, and headed for the door. Behind me, I heard my mother's voice. Alexandra, aren't you going to serve your brother? She's useless, Wyatt said through a mouthful of food. Can't even make decent lasagna. Good thing she's pretty. It's her only shot at a future. I closed the door behind me, letting their voices fade. They had no idea about the applications I'd been filling out, the practice tests I'd been taking in secret, the money I'd been hiding away. They thought I was just the family servant, the backup plan, the pretty face who needed to find a husband. But I'd learned something they hadn't. Patience is a weapon. And I was getting very, very good at wielding it. Walking to my car, I pulled out the real scholarship essay. The sauce-stained one had been a decoy. I'd learned to keep duplicates of everything important. Tomorrow, I'd polish this draft during my break. Then it would join my architecture school application, hidden in a folder labeled Wedding Pinterest Ideas on my laptop. Let them think I was searching for a husband. Let them think I was nothing but their servant. Let them think whatever they wanted. I had other plans. Girl, you look dead on your feet, Alexis said, sliding a triple espresso across the counter. How many hours did you sleep? 3, maybe 4. I tied my apron, already moving to clear tables. The morning rush was about to hit, and I needed those tips. Had to finish Wyatt's laundry after my shift last night. Heaven forbid he learns how to use a washing machine. You know this isn't normal, right? Alexis followed me, helping collect mugs. The way they treat you. I paused. Dirty dishes balanced precariously in my arms. Can we not? I need to focus on your secret architecture application, she whispered, grinning. How's that going? The dishes clattered as I set them down too quickly. Keep your voice down. If anyone from my family's circle hears... Relax, Alexis said, checking that no other employees were nearby. But seriously, you need to tell me more. Switzerland? That's huge. I pulled out my phone, showing her the program's website. ETH Zurich, one of the best architecture schools in the world. They offer full scholarships to international students if... The cafe door chimed. I shoved my phone away as Wyatt strutted in with 3 of his law school friends, all wearing matching university hoodies. My brother's eyes swept past me like I was furniture. 4 Americanos, he announced to Alexis, not bothering with pleasantries. And whatever my sister's having, she looks terrible. I'm working, Wyatt. Obviously. He smirked. Someone has to pay for my books. His friends laughed, and I felt my cheeks burn. I moved to the espresso machine, but Alexis stepped in front of me. I've got these, she said loudly. You can clean the back tables. As I wiped tables, I could hear Wyatt's voice carrying across the cafe. He was video calling someone. Probably another law school friend. Nah, man, I never study, he boasted. These suckers spend all night in the library while I'm out living life, still acing everything. One of his friends chimed in. Wyatt's got a system, don't you, buddy? You know it, Wyatt laughed. Work smart, not hard. That's what separates the winners from the losers. I gripped my cleaning cloth tighter, remembering all the nights I'd heard him on similar calls in his room. Always bragging, never studying, yet somehow maintaining perfect grades. Alexandra! Wyatt called out. My cup's empty. Before I could move, Alexis appeared with fresh coffees. On the house, she said sweetly. Now please keep your voice down. Other customers are trying to work. Wyatt's face darkened, but his friends were already standing to leave. Whatever. See you at home, sis. Mom wants you to clean my room today. I've got a big paper due. After they left, Alexis found me in the storage room, hands shaking as I counted inventory. Hey, she said softly, I've got something that might help. Remember my old professor? The one who retired last year? He tutors students for standardized tests. Off the books. I looked up. I can't afford. He owes me a favor, and he loves helping students stick it to unfair systems. She handed me a piece of paper with a phone number. Call him, please. That night, I went home late after my third shift. The house was quiet except for Wyatt's room, where his laptop hummed. He'd probably fallen asleep while studying again. I started cleaning, picking up empty energy drink cans and takeout containers. His laptop screen glowed with a dozen open tabs, social media, sports scores, and something that looked like an essay marketplace website. Moving the mouse to close the windows, I noticed a folder labeled Essays Purchased.docs. My heart stopped. What are you doing? I spun around. Wyatt stood in the doorway, eyes narrow. Just cleaning, I said quickly. Like Mom asked. Stay away from my laptop. He crossed the room in 2 strides, slamming it shut. Don't you have dishes to wash or something? I backed away, mind racing. Sorry, I'll go do that now. In the kitchen, I pulled out my phone and the professor's number. My hands trembled as I typed. Hi, this is Alexandra. Alexis gave me your number. I need help preparing for an exam, but it needs to be completely confidential. The response came quickly. Of course. When would you like to start? I looked toward Wyatt's room, where he was probably deleting evidence right now. Then I thought about my architecture application, about Switzerland, about freedom. As soon as possible, I wrote back. I'm ready to begin. Professor Martin's living room had become my sanctuary over the past month. Every Tuesday and Thursday, between my morning and afternoon shifts, I'd slip away to study advanced mathematics and architectural theory. Excellent work on the mock exam, he said, adjusting his reading glasses. Your spatial reasoning scores are particularly impressive. I beamed at the practice test results. Really? Indeed, though you seem distracted today. Sorry, I rubbed my eyes. Late night, had to help Wyatt prepare for a presentation. Ah yes, the famous brother. Professor Martin's tone was carefully neutral. The one whose success requires your servitude. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Mother. Where are you? Wyatt needs his suit pressed for tomorrow's moot court. I have to go, I said, gathering my books. Double shift, then home duties. Alexandra. Professor Martin's voice stopped me at the door. You can't keep this pace forever. Something has to give. Just 3 more weeks, I said, until the application deadline. The cafe was slammed when I arrived. Alexis shot me a sympathetic look as I rushed behind the counter. Your brother was here, she said quietly, showing off his new car to his friends, the one your parents bought him for studying so hard. I focused on making drinks, trying not to think about how that car probably cost more than my entire year's salary. The same salary that helped pay for his education. Oh, And he said something charming about how you're wasting your life serving coffee. Alexis rolled her eyes. I almost poured his latte in his lap. Don't! I managed a small smile. He's not worth losing your job over. The afternoon rush kept us busy until closing. As I counted my tips, Alexis peered over my shoulder. That's it, she declared. I'm helping you finish that application tonight. My apartment. No excuses. But Wyatt's suit. Can wait. This is your future, Alex. 3 hours later, I stared at my laptop screen in Alexis's tiny studio apartment. The application form finally complete. Every grade, every recommendation letter, every carefully crafted essay. It was all there. Do it, Alexis urged, holding out a cup of tea. Hit submit. My finger hovered over the mouse. Years of dreams, months of secret preparation, countless hours of hidden study, all coming down to this moment. I clicked submit. Alexis whooped, pulling me into a hug. You did it! You actually did it! My phone buzzed again, and again, and again. 15 missed calls from my mother, 20 text messages. Oh, God! I grabbed my bag. I have to go. Text me when you get home, Alexis called as I rushed out. And Alex, I'm proud of you. The house was dark when I arrived, except for the kitchen light. My mother sat at the table, her face a mask of fury. Where have you been? Work ran late, Don't lie to me. She stood up, her heels clicking on the tile. Wyatt saw you at some apartment building, with a friend. She spat the last word like poison. I was helping Alexis with enough. She slammed her hand on the table. While you were gallivanting around, your brother had to wear an unpressed suit to his presentation. Do you know how that reflects on this family? I heard movement upstairs. Wyatt, probably listening. I'm sorry, I said automatically. It won't happen again. No, it won't. My mother moved to my bag. What's in here? What are you hiding? Nothing. I pulled it away, but not before she caught a glimpse of my architecture textbook. Her eyes narrowed. What is that? Just something I'm reading. For fun. Fun? She laughed coldly. You think you have time for fun? While your brother is building a future for this family? I heard Wyatt's door open upstairs. Give me the bag, Alexandra. No, the words slipped out before I could stop it. My mother's face went white with shock. What did you say to me? I said no. My voice was steadier now. My bag, my things. How dare you? Wyatt appeared at the bottom of the stairs, smirking. Trouble in paradise? Your sister, our mother said, has been keeping secrets. I clutched my bag tighter, thinking of the application I'd just submitted, of the future I'd just dared to reach for. Go to your room, my mother ordered. We'll discuss your attitude in the morning. I climbed the stairs, passing Wyatt, who whispered, Nice going, sis. Real smart making Mom angry right before my big exam week. In my room, I locked the door and pulled out my phone. One new email. Thank you for your application to ETH Zurich School of Architecture. We will review your materials and respond within 4-6 weeks. I closed my eyes, heart pounding. The die was cast. Now all I could do was wait, and pray my family didn't discover the truth before I had a chance to escape. Sit down. My mother's voice was ice as she gestured to the kitchen chair. It was 6 a.m., and she'd been waiting for me. I have work. Sit. I sat. She placed my architecture textbook on the table between us. She must have searched my room while I slept. Explain this. She tapped the book's cover. And explain the money you've been hiding. My heart stopped. What money? Don't play dumb. I found your secret bank statements. Almost $8,000? She leaned forward. Who is he? He? The boy you're saving this money for. The one you're planning to run away with. Relief flooded through me. She'd jumped to the wrong conclusion. There's no boy, Mother. I've just been saving my tips. For what? A car, I lied quickly. Like Wyatt's. I'm tired of taking the bus to work. She studied my face for a long moment. And this book? Someone left it at the cafe. I was just curious. Curious? She laughed sharply. About architecture? Don't be ridiculous, Alexandra. You can barely handle basic math. I bit my tongue, thinking of my practice test scores hidden in my locker at work. I want you to quit that cafe job, she continued. It's putting ideas in your head, making you forget your place. But Wyatt's tuition. Your father got a promotion. We can handle Wyatt's expenses now. She stood up. It's time you focused on finding a suitable husband. I've invited Jamie for dinner tonight. Jamie? Wyatt's friend? He comes from a good family. He's in law school with your brother. He'd be perfect for you. Perfect for keeping me under their control, she meant. I'm not quitting my job, I said quietly. Her hand slammed the table. This isn't a discussion. You're right, it's not. I stood up, grabbing my bag. I'm late for work. I was halfway to the door when she called out, If you leave now, don't bother coming back. I paused, hand on the doorknob. We both know you won't kick me out. Who would cook Wyatt's meals? The cafe was quiet when I arrived. Alexis took one look at my face and made me a coffee. That bad? She found my architecture book. I slumped against the counter. But she thinks I'm saving money to elope with some secret boyfriend. Well, that's good? Maybe? She wants me to quit working here, says I need to focus on finding a husband. I laughed bitterly. She's inviting Jamie over for dinner tonight. Jamie? Isn't he the one who's always watching Wyatt like he's waiting for something? Before I could respond, the cafe door chimed. Speaking of the devil, Jamie walked in, alone for once. Alexandra, he said, oddly formal. Can we talk? Alexis squeezed my arm and disappeared into the back. Black coffee? I reached for a cup. No, listen. He glanced around, then lowered his voice. There's something happening at school. A cheating investigation. A big one. My hands froze on the coffee pot. What does that have to do with me? Your brother... He stopped as the door chimed again. Wyatt strolled in, looking smug as ever. Jamie, there you are, man. Wyatt clapped him on the shoulder. Ready for the ethics exam? Jamie stepped back. Yeah, about that. Dean Scarlett is implementing new anti-cheating measures. Wyatt's smile flickered. So? So maybe we should study. Actually study. Why start now? Wyatt laughed, but there was an edge to it. Our system works fine. Your system, Jamie muttered. What was that? Nothing. Jamie turned to leave, then paused. See you at dinner, Alexandra. I watched them go, Jamie tense and Wyatt shooting him suspicious looks. As they left, Jamie dropped something on the counter, a small, folded note. I opened it when Alexis returned. You should know what your family is investing in. What does that mean? Alexis asked, reading over my shoulder. I don't know. But I remembered the folder on Wyatt's laptop. Essays, purchased, .docx. But I think Jamie's trying to tell me something. About Wyatt? About everything. I tucked the note into my pocket. And I think tonight's dinner just got a lot more interesting. My phone buzzed. Another angry text from my mother about tonight's dinner. About my future. About knowing my place, if she only knew. In a few weeks, I'd either have my ticket to freedom or be trapped here forever. And somehow, I had a feeling Jamie was about to play a crucial role in which way things went. Want me to come over after dinner? Alexis offered. For moral support? I shook my head. No, I need to handle this myself. I pulled out my phone to check the time until my architecture school would announce decisions. 3 weeks, 4 days, and 17 hours to go. Jamie arrived for dinner exactly on time, wearing a suit that made my mother beam with approval. Wyatt, surprisingly, was nowhere to be seen. "He's running late," my mother explained, ushering Jamie to the living room. "Important study group meeting. Alexandra, serve the appetizers." I brought out the cheese plate I'd prepared, noting how Jamie wouldn't meet my eyes. "So, Jamie," my mother purred, "tell me about your plans after law school. Actually, Mrs. He cleared his throat. "There's something I need to discuss with—" The front door slammed. Wyatt stormed in, face flushed with anger. "You!" He pointed at Jamie. "What did you tell Dean Scarlett?" My mother's smile froze. "Wyatt, dear, what's wrong?" "Ask him!" Wyatt threw his bag down. "Ask your perfect dinner guest what he's been saying about me." Jamie stood up slowly. "I didn't tell her anything, Wyatt, but she's investigating everyone. The plagiarism detection software—" "Plagiarism?" My mother's voice rose sharply. "What is he talking about, Wyatt?" "Nothing." Wyatt grabbed Jamie's arm. "We need to talk. Now." They disappeared into the kitchen. I followed quietly, pressing against the wall to listen. "You promised you'd keep quiet," Wyatt hissed. "That was before I knew how deep it went." Jamie's voice was steady. "Buying one essay is bad enough, but you've been selling them too, to first years. You can't prove anything. The dean already has proof. That's what today's meeting was about." My mother appeared behind me. "Alexandra, stop eavesdropping and set the table." But even she paused when Wyatt's voice carried through the door. "If I go down, you're going down with me. Who helped me format all those papers?" "I never knew they were purchased. I thought I was helping a friend study." "Tell that to the ethics board." I stepped into the kitchen, unable to stay quiet. "Is that how you've been getting perfect grades? Buying essays?" Wyatt spun toward me. "Shut up. This is none of your business." "None of my business?" My voice shook. "My entire life has been put on hold to fund your education, and you're cheating." "Alexandra!" My mother grabbed my arm. "How dare you accuse your brother?" "She's right." Jamie's words cut through the tension. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Cox, but Wyatt's been cheating since first year, and now the dean knows." My mother's face went white. "Get out!" "But get out!" Jamie looked at me, then pulled something from his pocket, a USB drive. He set it on the counter. "Everything's here. What he bought, what he sold. I'm sorry." After he left, the silence was deafening. My mother stared at Wyatt, who wouldn't meet her eyes. "Tell me it's not true," she whispered. "Mom, I can explain." My phone chimed loudly in my pocket. An email notification from ETH Zurich. What was that? My mother's head snapped toward me. "Nothing." I backed away, but Wyatt was faster. He grabbed my phone. "ETH Zurich School of Architecture?" He read aloud, face twisting into a sneer. "What is this?" My mother snatched the phone. Her eyes widened as she read. "An acceptance letter to architecture school in Switzerland with a full scholarship," I said quietly. "You?" Wyatt laughed harshly. "They accepted you?" "While you were buying your way through law school, I was actually studying." I grabbed my phone back. "Surprise." "You can't go," my mother said immediately. "We won't allow it." "I'm 19. You can't stop me." "We're your family." "Family?" I laughed. "Family doesn't treat their daughter like a servant. Family doesn't steal her college fund. Family doesn't—" "Enough!" Wyatt's face was red. "You think you're so smart? At least I was trying to become something. What's architecture going to get you? Nothing. It's getting me away from you." He lunged at me, but I was ready. I stepped aside, and he crashed into the counter, sending the USB drive clattering to the floor. My mother picked it up with trembling hands. "I'll call your father. We'll fix this. We'll find a way. My phone chimed again. A text from Jamie. Dean Scarlett is announcing the investigation tomorrow. I'm sorry it had to be this way. There's nothing to fix, I said, heading for the stairs. Wyatt destroyed his own future, and I'm building mine. Alexandra! My mother's voice followed me up. If you leave this family... I turned at the top of the stairs. I was never really part of it, was I? In my room, I pulled out my packed suitcase, the one I'd been slowly filling for months. Switzerland was waiting. Freedom was waiting. And downstairs, I could hear my carefully planted bomb finally exploding, taking their perfect family fantasy with it. The house felt like a powder keg the next morning. My father had come home late, and I'd heard them arguing until dawn. My mother's hysterical accusations, Wyatt's defensive shouts, my father's rare but thunderous voice cutting through it all. I crept downstairs at sunrise, hoping to slip out before anyone woke, but my father sat at the kitchen table, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Sit down, Alexandra. I hesitated, then took the chair across from him. He pushed a thick envelope toward me. Your welcome packet, he said quietly, from the architecture school. It came yesterday. My hands shook as I took it. You opened it? Your mother did. He rubbed his face. Full scholarship, housing stipend, everything you'd need to start a new life. Dad, when did you get so smart? His voice cracked. When did you learn to plan all this? While we were... He trailed off, guilt heavy in his eyes. While you were focused on Wyatt? He flinched. I failed you. Yes, I said simply. You did. The stairs creaked. Wyatt, looking hungover and desperate. Dad, please, you have to call Dean Scarlett. Tell her it's all a mistake. A mistake? My father's voice went cold. Like the mistake of buying essays or selling them to other students? I had to. Wyatt slammed his hands on the table. Everyone does it. The pressure... The pressure? I stood up. Try working 3 jobs while studying in secret. Try watching your dreams get handed to someone else. Try... Shut up. Wyatt grabbed my welcome packet. You think you're better than me? You're nothing. Just a waitress with delusions of... My father's hand slammed the table. Enough! We both froze. I'd never heard him yell like that. Give your sister her papers, he ordered Wyatt. Now. But Dad. Now! Wyatt threw the envelope at me. Fine. Take your precious acceptance. But when you fail in Switzerland, don't come crawling back. Like you're failing here? I caught the envelope. At least my achievements are real. He lunged for me again, but my father caught his arm. Don't, my father warned. You've done enough damage. My mother appeared in the doorway, still in yesterday's clothes. Alfred, please, we can fix this. We can pay the school, explain that Wyatt was under stress. No. My father's voice was firm. No more fixing, no more excuses. But he's our son, and she's our daughter, he gestured at me, the one we've been treating like a servant, the one who's somehow stronger than all of us. My phone buzzed, Alexis texting about my shift, but there was also an email from the dean's office, copied to all law students. Mandatory assembly today regarding academic integrity violations. Wyatt's phone buzzed with the same message. His face went pale. I have to go, he whispered. Maybe I can talk to her before... You're not going anywhere, my father said. You're going to sit here and face what you've done. Like hell I am. Wyatt grabbed his keys. I'm not letting some stupid ethics board ruin my life. He stormed out. Moments later, his car screeched down the driveway. My mother collapsed into a chair, sobbing. What will people say? What about his future? What about Alexandra's future? My father asked quietly. She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. You really got accepted? On your own? Yes. I held up the welcome packet. Everything I've done, I did on my own. But you're just what, Mother? Just the backup plan? Just the pretty face who needs a husband? I grabbed my bag. I have to get to work. My last shift at the cafe. Last shift? My father asked. My flight to Switzerland leaves next week. I headed for the door, then turned back. By the way, there's a letter for you in my room, explaining everything, in case you ever wondered why I did this. Alexandra, wait! My mother called, but I was already gone. Outside, the morning sun felt different somehow. Brighter, cleaner. My phone buzzed again, Jamie this time. Dean Scarlett's going public in an hour. Wyatt just tried to break into her office. Security caught him. I typed back, "Thank you for everything." You're welcome. And Alexandra, you're going to do amazing things in Switzerland. I got in my car, looking back at the house one last time. Through the window, I could see my parents, my mother crying, my father holding my welcome packet like it was made of glass. Let them read it. Let them finally see what they'd done. Let them live with the consequences of their choices, just as I'd lived with mine. My phone buzzed one more time. Alexis, ready for your last day of serving coffee? I smiled, starting the engine. Ready for my first day of freedom. The news broke during my final shift at the cafe. Alexis and I watched it unfold on Twitter. Major cheating scandal rocks law school. Then, multiple students expelled, ringleader identified. And finally, the headline that changed everything. Dean expels top student for running essay selling scheme. My phone exploded with notifications. First from Jamie. It's done. Wyatt tried to delete evidence, but IT recovered everything. Then from my father. Come home, please, we need to talk. And finally my mother. What have you done to this family? You okay? Alexis touched my arm. Before I could answer, the cafe door burst open. Wyatt stormed in, face contorted with rage. You! He pointed at me. You planned this. You and Jamie set me up. Customers turned to stare. I stepped behind the counter, putting distance between us. You set yourself up, Wyatt. I just stopped covering for you. Covering for me? You're my sister. You're supposed to support me. Like you supported me? I kept my voice steady. When they took my college fund? When they made me work 3 jobs to pay for your fake education? He lunged for the counter, but Alexis was faster. She grabbed the phone. One more step and I'm calling the police. The police? He laughed hysterically. My life is already over. Expelled, blacklisted. Do you know what this means? It means you face consequences, I said. Finally. The cafe door opened again. My parents rushed in, my father immediately grabbing Wyatt's arm. That's enough! His voice boomed through the cafe. You're making a scene. A scene? My mother's mascara was streaked with tears. Our son's life is ruined, and you're worried about a scene? Your son ruined his own life, I said quietly. And mine too, for a while. How dare you? She stepped toward me, but my father held her back. No, Presley, she's right. The cafe had gone silent. Every customer watched our family drama unfold like a daytime soap opera. Right, my mother's voice rose. She destroyed everything we built, everything we sacrificed for. You sacrificed me, I said. Not yourselves. Never yourselves. We gave you everything. You gave Wyatt everything. You gave me orders. Wyatt broke free from my father's grip. At least they believed in me. What are you? Just a coffee girl with delusions of... A full scholarship to ETH Zurich, Alexis cut in. One of the top architecture schools in the world. While working 3 jobs and dealing with your abuse. That's who she is. My mother's face went blank. You're really leaving? For Switzerland? My flight's next week. I untied my apron. My last shift was officially over. I would have told you sooner, but... Well, you never asked about my dreams. Not once. Because we knew what was best for you. My mother grabbed my arm. You can't just leave your family. Watch me. I pulled away, walking around the counter. Customers parted like the Red Sea, creating a path to the door. Alexandra, please, my father called. We can fix this. As a family. I turned back one last time. You had 18 years to be a family. You chose to be a fan club for Wyatt instead. You ungrateful. Wyatt started forward again, but this time multiple customers stood up, forming a barrier between us. I think you should leave, an elderly man said firmly. All of you, except her. He nodded at me. My mother looked around, suddenly aware of their audience. Her face flushed with embarrassment. This isn't over, she hissed. Yes, it is. I picked up my bag. My shift is done. My time as your servant is done. Everything is done. Alexis appeared beside me with her car keys. Need a ride? Actually, Jamie's voice came from the doorway. I've got that covered. He stood there with his own keys, looking apologetically at Wyatt. I'm sorry it came to this, man, but she deserves her shot. You're both dead to me, Wyatt spat. Better dead to you than living for you, I said. I walked out with Jamie and Alexis, leaving my family standing in the cafe. Through the window, I saw my father sink into a chair, head in his hands. My mother stood frozen, mascara still running. And Wyatt looked lost, like a puppet whose strings had finally been cut. Where to? Jamie asked as we got in his car. I pulled out my welcome packet, the one thing I'd fought so hard to achieve. The airport. I need to confirm my flight details. A week early? No. I looked back at the cafe one last time. I'm changing my ticket. I'm done waiting. As we pulled away, I saw my mother run out, calling my name. But her voice faded into the distance, replaced by the sound of freedom approaching. Next stop, Switzerland. The Swiss autumn air was crisp as I walked across ETH Zurich's campus, my architecture models tucked safely in my portfolio. My phone buzzed. Alexis calling on video chat. Ready for your big presentation? Her familiar face filled the screen. As ready as I'll ever be. I adjusted my blazer. How's the cafe? Different without you, but guess who came in yesterday? My steps slowed. Who? Your dad. He asked for your address again. I sighed. What did you tell him? Same thing as always. That it's not my place to give it out. She paused. He looked rough, Alex. Said your mom had to start working at the mall after they sold the house. And Wyatt? Delivering groceries, last I heard. Jamie says he's taking online classes at community college now, actually studying this time. I reached the presentation hall, where my architectural models waited. I have to go. Final review in 10 minutes. Wait! Alexis's voice stopped me. There's something else. Your dad left this. She held up an envelope. Through the video, I could make out my name in my father's handwriting. Should I open it? I hesitated. The last letter I'd gotten from them, 3 months ago, was full of my mother's accusations and Wyatt's bitter words. But this one was just from Dad. Read it. Alexis opened the envelope. Dear Alexandra, I found your old sketchbooks in the attic while packing up the house, the ones you used to hide under your mattress. All those beautiful buildings you drew, all those dreams we ignored. She paused, wiping her eyes. I'm sorry it took losing everything to see what was right in front of us. I'm sorry we made you hide your light. I'm sorry I was a coward. My throat tightened. Is there more? Just this. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know that somewhere in Switzerland, there's a father who finally understands what he lost, And he's proud of you. Love, Dad. The presentation hall door opened. My professor poked her head out. Alexandra, we're ready. Go, Alexis said. Show them what you can do. I walked into the hall where the review board waited. My final project, a community centre designed to transform abandoned spaces into places of learning and growth, stood on the presentation table. As I began my presentation, my phone buzzed one last time. A text from Jamie. Your mum came to the law school today. She's been going around warning parents about the cost of favouritism. I think she finally gets it. I put my phone away and faced the review board. This project is about transformation, I began, about taking broken systems and building something new, something better. One of the professors leaned forward. And what inspired this design? I thought about my father's letter, about my mother's warnings, about Wyatt's fall and slow rebuild, about all the nights I spent hiding my dreams. I grew up in a house that looked perfect from the outside, I said, but inside, it was full of rot. This design is about creating spaces where no one has to hide, where everyone's potential matters. The board members exchanged looks. The head professor smiled. Tell us more. As I walked them through my design, I thought about karma, about justice, about the price of freedom. My family had built their dreams on my back, and when I stepped away, everything collapsed. But here I was, building something new, something real. My phone buzzed again in my bag. Probably Alexis, or Jamie, or maybe even my father again. They were all part of my story, but they weren't my whole story anymore. I pointed to the central atrium in my model, where light streamed through carefully placed windows. In architecture, we learn that the strongest structures are the ones built on honest foundations. You can't create something lasting from lies and shortcuts, the head professor nodded. And what happens to the broken pieces? In your design? I smiled, thinking of Wyatt in his delivery uniform, of my mother warning other parents, of my father finally finding my hidden sketchbooks. We don't throw them away, I said. We transform them. We learn from them, and sometimes that's the greatest design of all. The board started clapping. Through the presentation hall windows, I could see the Swiss Alps rising against the autumn sky. My future, built on my own honest foundation, stretched out before me. And somewhere back home, in a much smaller house, my family was learning to build something honest too. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe it was the beginning of understanding. And for now, that was enough.
The first sign something was wrong came 3 days after I lost the baby. I was still bleeding, curled up on our bed, when I heard my husband Kyle's footsteps pacing downstairs. Not coming up to check on me, just pacing. My name is Natasha, and this is the story of how I destroyed the 2 men I trusted most in the world. They deserved every second of it. I need to clear my head, Kyle announced that evening, standing in our bedroom doorway with a duffel bag already packed. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Just for a few days? I pushed myself up against the headboard, ignoring the cramping pain. Clear your head? I just lost our child. That's exactly why. He shifted his weight, checking his phone. It's too much. I can't think straight here. The bedroom door creaked open wider as my brother Aidan appeared behind Kyle, carrying his own backpack. My stomach dropped. You're going with him? Sis, you're being dramatic, Aidan said, rolling his eyes. Kyle needs this. You both do. Some space will help. I stared at them both, my military husband and my baby brother, standing there like 2 teenagers planning a spring break trip. The absurdity of it made me laugh, which seemed to unnerve them. Where are you going? I asked, keeping my voice steady. Vegas, Kyle muttered. Just a few days to decompress. Vegas, I repeated the word. With what money? Kyle wouldn't meet my eyes again. I had to dip into the emergency fund. I'll pay it back. The emergency fund we'd built together over 5 years of marriage. The fund that had just covered my hospital bills 3 days ago when I hemorrhaged in our bathroom and Kyle was too busy to drive me. You're taking our savings? To Vegas? My voice cracked. Now? Jesus, Nat, stop making him feel guilty, Aidan snapped. It's not like you need the money anymore anyway. The room went silent. Even Kyle winced. I didn't mean, Aidan started. Get out. The words came out soft, controlled. Both of you, get out of my sight. They shuffled awkwardly, Kyle mumbling something about calling when they landed. I watched them leave, listened to their footsteps on the stairs, heard the front door open and close. Only then did I let myself move. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand, hands shaking as I scrolled through my contacts. Found the number I needed. The line rang twice before a clipped voice answered. Commander Hayes speaking. I took a deep breath, smiled, even though no one could see it. Yes, Commander Hayes. I have some information you should hear about one of your officers. Who is this? I'm Kyle Harding's wife, and I think you should know he just went AWOL with 15,000 of military family support funds. There was a pause on the line. Mrs. Harding, that's a serious accusation. Oh, I know. I leaned back against the headboard, touching my still tender abdomen. And I have proof. Bank statements, text messages, everything. Would you like me to email them to you? Another pause. Yes, I would. I hung up and opened my laptop, started gathering evidence, documents, screenshots. My hands weren't shaking anymore. The pain was still there, would always be there, but something else was rising to take its place. Something cold and clear and focused. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Bonnie. Kyle just posted a boarding pass pic on Instagram. You okay? I typed back, No, but I will be. Can you help me with something? Anything, came the immediate reply. I smiled again, this time with teeth. They thought they could leave me here, bleeding and alone, while they ran off to clear their heads with our savings. They thought I would just take it, like I'd taken everything else. They were wrong. My brother always said I was too dramatic, too emotional. Kyle claimed I overthought everything, but they never realised that meant I noticed everything too. Every lie, every betrayal, every small cruelty they thought I'd forget. I didn't forget. I took notes. And now, while they played high rollers with my emergency fund, I was going to teach them exactly what happens when you abandon someone with nothing left to lose. I opened a new document and started typing. Dear Commander Hayes, as discussed, here is the documentation regarding unauthorized absence and misappropriation of funds. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. Sometimes it's served one meticulous, carefully planned detail at a time. Bonnie arrived the next morning with coffee and her laptop. She found me at the dining room table, surrounded by papers and sticky notes. You look better, she said, setting down the coffee. Amazing what rage can do for your complexion. I pushed a stack of bank statements toward her. Look at these transactions from last week. She scanned the papers, frowning. These withdrawals, they're from the military family support account. Kyle's been skimming from it for months, small amounts at first, then bigger ones. I pointed to the latest withdrawal. Until this lovely Vegas getaway. That's fraud, Bonnie said, eyes widening. Like, serious fraud. I know, and I have a friend who'd love to hear all about it. I pulled up my phone, showing her the text exchange with Teresa, Kyle's sister. His own sister is helping you? Bonnie asked. Teresa's a nurse at the base hospital. She's seen too many military wives abandoned after miscarriages. Plus, I smiled grimly, she's always hated how Kyle treated me. My phone rang. My mother's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. Maureen still pushing you to get over it? Bonnie asked. Yesterday, She suggested the stress of my job caused the miscarriage. I took a long sip of coffee. Apparently, I should have been more mindful of my condition. Jesus Christ, Bonnie grabbed my hand. You know that's not... I know. I squeezed her hand back. But right now, I need to focus. My phone buzzed with a text from Teresa. Got the documentation you sent. Command is already asking questions. Kyle's CO wants a meeting tomorrow. Perfect, I murmured. Bonnie was scrolling through her phone. Speaking of perfect, you might want to see this. She handed me her phone. It showed a blurry Instagram photo. Kyle in what looked like a casino, his arm around a blonde woman in a red dress. The timestamp was from last night. Who is she? Bonnie asked. I don't know. Yet. I saved the photo. But I bet Teresa can find out. My phone rang again. This time it was Aiden. I answered on speaker. What do you want? Hey, sis, his voice was slurred. Just checking in, making sure you're okay. At 10 in the morning? How thoughtful. Don't be like that, he hiccuped. Kyle's really torn up about everything. Is that why he's taking selfies with blondes? Silence on the line. Then, you're spying on us? It's not spying when it's public Instagram, little brother. I kept my voice sweet. By the way, how did you get the time off work so quickly? I thought your company had strict leave policies. More silence. Then shuffling sounds, like he was moving somewhere private. Look, he whispered, I may have claimed some hardship leave. Family emergency kind of thing. Oh, what emergency? I might have mentioned your situation. My hand tightened around the phone. You used my miscarriage to get vacation time? Nat, don't. I hung up, turned to Bonnie, who was watching me with concern. I need you to do something for me, I said. Remember your friend Rachel, the employment lawyer? Bonnie nodded slowly. Want me to give her a call? Please, I have some questions about fraudulent leave claims and company liability. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Teresa. Found her. Her name's Yvette. She works at the base commissary. Want her details? Yes, I typed back. Then to Bonnie. We're going to need more coffee. We spent the next few hours building what Bonnie called my revenge spreadsheet. Every transaction, every text, every lie carefully documented and categorized. The military fraud in one column, Aiden's company deception in another. A third column for the growing list of witnesses and allies. Around noon, my mother called again. Natasha, this has to stop, she said when I finally answered. Your brother just called me crying. What are you doing? Nothing they haven't earned. They're just boys being boys. You need to stop wallowing and... Mum, I cut her off. Remember when Dad died? How you said the worst pain was feeling helpless? Yes, but... I'm not helpless anymore. And I'm not wallowing. I'm working. I hung up as Bonnie's phone chimed. She read the message and looked up at me, eyes wide. Rachel can meet us tomorrow. She says if everything you've shown me is true, we have enough for multiple complaints. Military, corporate, maybe even criminal. I nodded, adding another note to my spreadsheet. Good, because I'm just getting started. My phone lit up with another text from Teresa. Command meeting scheduled for Oros 900 tomorrow. Kyle doesn't know yet. Want me to record it? I smiled, thinking of Kyle and Aiden probably still at the blackjack tables, having no idea what was coming. Yes, I typed back. Record everything. Teresa met me at a coffee shop off base, her nurse's scrubs wrinkled from a long shift. She slid a manila envelope across the table before even sitting down. It's worse than we thought, she said, glancing around before leaning in. Kyle's been AWOL for 3 days now. No approved leave, no emergency contact. I opened the envelope, finding printed emails and military documents. He told me he had leave approved. He lied, and that's not all. Teresa pulled out her phone, showing me a text thread. Yvette's been bragging to her friends about dating an officer. Turns out she's Commander Hayes' sister. His commanding officer's sister? I almost laughed. That's actually perfect. There's more. Teresa's voice dropped lower. I did some digging in the medical records. Don't ask how. Kyle listed Yvette as his emergency contact 2 months ago. Before I lost the baby, I finished flatly. So, he was cheating even then. My phone buzzed. A text from Bonnie. You need to see this now. Attached was a screenshot from Aiden's girlfriend Paige's Instagram story. A selfie in front of the Bellagio fountains with the caption, "Can't believe you flew me out here last minute. Chivalry High Roller Prince," on the company card. Your brother's girlfriend is there too? Teresa asked, reading over my shoulder. Apparently. I forwarded the post to Rachel, our lawyer. And she just proved he's using company money to fund it. Teresa's phone chimed. She checked it and smiled grimly. Command's preparing the paperwork now. Kyle's officially listed as unauthorized absence. They're freezing his accounts. Good. I pulled out my laptop, because I have something for them too. I opened the dossier I'd been building. Bank statements showing suspicious transfers, screenshots of Kyle's messages about dodging duty, dates of unauthorized absences, cross-referenced with casino check-ins. Send it anonymously, Teresa advised. Through me. It'll have more impact coming from inside the base. As we worked, my phone kept buzzing. Messages from my mother. Natasha, please call me. Your brother is worried sick. This isn't like you. Think about what your father would say. I ignored them all. Done, Teresa announced, closing her laptop. Command will have everything by morning. She hesitated. Are you sure about this? Once it starts, I'm sure. I showed her my phone's background, the last ultrasound picture, taken just days before everything went wrong. They left me bleeding in an emergency room to go gambling. They used my loss as their excuse to party. They deserve everything coming. My phone rang. Aiden's girlfriend, Paige. Hello? Natasha? Paige's voice was slurred, casino noise in the background. I think I messed up. What's wrong? Aiden's being weird. He keeps making calls, talking about company accounts and transfers. He said something about your dad's old business, LLC. I sat up straighter. What about it? He said he's been using it for, tax stuff, moving money around. She hiccuped. He's really drunk and scared about something. Says people are asking questions. What people? His boss called and some lawyer? Another hiccup. He said it's your fault, that you're trying to ruin him. Are you? I thought about all the times I'd covered for Aiden growing up, all the lies I told our parents to protect him, all the money I'd lent him that he never repaid. Yes, I said simply. I am. Paige was quiet for a moment. Then, good. He's been lying to me too, about everything. After I hung up, Teresa was watching me carefully. Your brother's been embezzling? Using our dad's old LLC as a shell company. I've known for months, but never said anything. I pulled up another file on my laptop. Until now. What are you going to do? I started typing an email to Aiden's company's HR department, attaching documentation of his fraud. I'm going to remind him that Big Sister sees everything. My phone buzzed one final time that night. A text from an unknown number. This is Yvette, Kyle's girlfriend. We need to talk. I showed Teresa the message. She raised an eyebrow. What are you going to say? I thought about Kyle pacing downstairs while I bled, about Aiden calling me dramatic, about all the nights I'd cried alone while my husband was apparently with this woman. Nothing yet, I replied, saving the number. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. I closed my laptop and looked at Teresa. Want to help me freeze all the joint accounts before they try to run? She smiled, pulling out her phone. I thought you'd never ask. The first call came at 6 a.m. Kyle's voice was eerily calm. What did you do? I took a sip of coffee, letting the silence stretch. You'll have to be more specific. Commands threatening court-martial. My accounts are frozen. Even my credit cards are blocked. Sounds serious, I said. Maybe you shouldn't have gone AWOL with military funds. Did you report me? His calm cracked slightly. After everything we've been through? Everything we've been through? I laughed, surprising myself with how cold it sounded. You mean like when you left me in the ER? Or when you used our dead baby as an excuse to run off with your girlfriend? Silence on the line. Then, how did you know about Yvette? I know everything, Kyle. I always did. I just finally stopped pretending I didn't. He started to say something else, but I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. The second call came from my mother. Aiden's being investigated at work, she said without preamble. He could go to jail, Natasha. Jail. Is that what you want? What I want? I stood up, pacing my kitchen. What I want is a family that didn't abandon me when I needed them most. What I want is a brother who didn't use my miscarriage for a free vacation. What I want... Stop being so selfish, she snapped. This will ruin the family. The family was already ruined, I said quietly. You just didn't notice because I was the only one bleeding. The doorbell rang as I hung up. It was Bonnie holding a thick manila envelope. Divorce papers, she said, handing them over. But you're going to want to read who filed them. I opened the envelope. The petitioner's name made me freeze. Yvette Hayes. She's married to him? Bonnie asked. No. I flipped through the papers. These aren't divorce papers. They're a petition for financial support. She's pregnant. The room spun slightly. Bonnie grabbed my arm, leading me to the couch. That son of a bitch, she whispered. While I was losing our baby, he was making one with someone else. I looked at the date on the papers. She's 3 months along. He knew. He knew when I was in the hospital. My phone buzzed with a text from Teresa. Command hearing in progress. Kyle's here. Want me to patch you in? I typed back, yes, record everything. Bonnie set up my laptop while I connected to Teresa's video call. The screen showed a conference room where Kyle stood at attention before Commander Hayes and 2 other officers. Lieutenant Harding, Hayes was saying, can you explain these unauthorized withdrawals from the family support account? Sir, I can explain. Can you also explain your unauthorized absence, your failure to report, the misuse of military resources? Kyle's posture stiffened. Sir, I was dealing with a family emergency. You mean my sister's pregnancy? Hayes's voice could have frozen how. Or your wife's miscarriage that you abandoned. The colour drained from Kyle's face. I watched him crumble in real time as Hayes laid out every piece of evidence, every violation, every lie. By the end, Kyle was practically swaying on his feet. Your conduct is unbecoming of an officer, Hayes concluded. You're suspended pending investigation. Surrender your credentials on your way out. As Kyle turned to leave, Hayes added, and, Lieutenant, stay away from my sister. I disconnected the call just as my phone rang again. Aiden. They're going to fire me, he said without greeting. They know about Dad's LLC, the fake expense reports, everything. How did they find out? Maybe Paige's Instagram posts about your company-funded Vegas trip weren't as subtle as you thought. This isn't funny, he was crying now. I could go to prison. Should have thought about that before using my miscarriage as your cover story. I'm your brother. No, I said softly. Brothers don't do what you did. Brothers protect their sisters. You chose Kyle over me. Now you can share his consequences. I hung up and turned to Bonnie, who was still reading through Yvette's papers. What now? She asked. My phone buzzed with an email notification. The military spouse support forum I'd contacted wanted to interview me about abandoned wives and accountability in the ranks. Now, I said, opening my laptop. We make sure everyone knows exactly what happens when they think they can get away with anything. They'll call you vindictive, Bonnie warned. Say you went too far. I thought about the ultrasound picture still in my wallet, about bleeding alone in an emergency room, about Kyle making a new family while ours died, about Aiden using my pain for a vacation. Good, I said, starting to type. Let them. The military spouse forums exploded overnight. Teresa had helped me post anonymously, sharing screenshots of Kyle's infractions, his abandonment, and his affair with Yvette. Within hours, it spread to other bases, other forums, other commands. They're calling it the Vegas deserter story, Teresa told me over the phone. Command is furious. This kind of publicity... Good, I said, scrolling through the comments. Let them see what happens when they ignore men like Kyle. My doorbell rang. I opened it to find Yvette standing there, mascara streaked down her face. You ruined everything, she said, pushing past me into the house. Kyle's career, our future, your future. I closed the door calmly. You mean the one you built while I was losing my baby? She flinched. I didn't know about that. Not at first. When did you know? The night he got the call. She sank onto my couch. He was with me when you went to the ER. He said he couldn't deal with it, needed space. So you gave him space in your bed? He said you were smothering him. She stood up again, pacing. That you were too emotional, too needy. I was pregnant, the words exploded out of me. With his child. And now what? You think you'll do better? Her hand went to her stomach protectively. I already am. 3 months and everything's perfect. My phone buzzed. A text from Commander Hayes. Just saw the forums. This ends now. Kyle's facing dishonourable discharge. I showed Yvette the message. Looks like your perfect future just got complicated. She started to respond when both our phones chimed with notifications. Someone had leaked Kyle's personnel file to the base's social media groups. Every infraction, every lie, every misused fund laid bare. Teresa? I texted quickly. Not me, she replied. Command did it. They're making an example of him. Yvette was reading the posts, her face getting paler. He said he had permission for the money, that it was his right. He lied, I said simply. That's what Kyle does. He lies and runs and leaves others to bleed. My phone rang. Aiden again. They fired me, he choked out. And Paige told them everything about the LLC scam, about using Dad's name. Karma's interesting, isn't it? This isn't karma, he shouted. This is you, my own sister. My own brother, I countered. Who used my pain for a Vegas trip? How's that working out? He hung up. Moments later, my mother called. Aiden's at my house crying, she said. He says you destroyed his life. No, Mom. He destroyed his own life. I just made sure everyone saw him do it. And Kyle? His career? Was that necessary? I looked at Yvette, still scrolling through the devastating posts. Ask his pregnant girlfriend. She's sitting on my couch right now. Silence. Then, his what? Goodbye, Mom. Yvette was gathering her purse, heading for the door. This isn't over. Actually, it is. I opened the door for her. Kyle's finished. Your brother made sure of that. And you're just collateral damage in Kyle's pattern of destruction. Good luck with that baby. Hope he sticks around longer than he did for mine. After she left, I called Bonnie. It's done, I said. Kyle's career is over. Aiden's fired. The truth is everywhere. How do you feel? I touched my stomach, remembering. Empty, but clearer. My phone buzzed with another text from Teresa. Kyle just tried to access the last joint account, the one you froze yesterday. I smiled. Let me guess. He needs escape money? Bingo. He's desperate. Commands considering criminal charges for the fund misuse. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Aiden, eyes wild and red. You did this, he said, trembling in my doorway. Why the hell would you do this to your own brother? I studied him. My little brother who I'd protected our whole lives, who I'd lied for, covered for, bailed out countless times, who left me bleeding to party with my husband. Because you stopped being my brother the moment you chose Kyle over me. The moment you used my dead baby as your excuse to party. I didn't. Get out, I said quietly. Get out of my house. Get out of my life. Go deal with your consequences. He started to say something else, but I closed the door. Locked it. Leaned against it until I heard his footsteps fade away. My phone chimed one last time that night. A message from Commander Hayes. Justice isn't always pretty, Mrs. Harding, but sometimes it's necessary. Thank you for bringing this to light. Kyle won't hurt anyone else in our ranks again. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and began typing. To whom it may concern, my name is Natasha, and this is what happens when you abandon someone with nothing left to lose. The memory hit me as I was cleaning out Kyle's closet. Aiden, at 12, hiding behind me as our father raged about a broken window. It was me, I'd said, stepping in front of my brother. I did it. The slap had stung, but Aiden's whispered, "Thanks, sis," had made it worth it. My phone buzzed, yanking me back to the present. Kyle. Please, he sobbed, not even saying hello. They're pressing charges, criminal charges. I can't. I need help. Like I needed help in the ER? That's not fair. Fair? I pulled one of his uniforms from the closet. Was it fair when you were with a vet while I was losing our baby? When you took our savings to Vegas? When you made my brother choose between us? I made mistakes, he whispered. Horrible mistakes. But you've destroyed everything. No, Kyle, you destroyed everything. I just made sure everyone saw the ruins. I hung up as Bonnie let herself in with her spare key. She found me surrounded by Kyle's uniforms. What are you doing? Spring cleaning. I tossed another uniform into the pile. Want to help me burn these? She picked up a medal. You sure about this? My phone buzzed with a text from Aiden. Remember when you covered for me after Dad's car got dented? You said that's what sisters do. What changed? Everything changed, I muttered, showing Bonnie the text. You protected him a lot, didn't you? I nodded, another memory surfacing. 16-year-old Aiden, drunk at prom. Me, picking him up at 2 a.m., telling our parents he was staying at a friend's. Every time, I said, every single time he needed me, I was there. And when you needed him? My phone rang. My mother. Aiden's being investigated for fraud, she said. They're looking at Dad's old business records. Good. Good? He's your brother. Was my brother, I corrected. The brother I protected died the moment he chose Vegas over me. You were always so dramatic, she sighed, always taking things too personally. Like my miscarriage? My voice cracked. Was that too personal, Mum? Silence. You know what I remember? I continued. When I called you from the hospital, know what you said? These things happen. Like I'd lost a phone, not a baby. Natasha, and when Kyle and Aiden left, you told me to stop wallowing, to think of them. Well, I did think of them. I thought of every lie, every betrayal, every time they took advantage of my protection. Bonnie touched my arm, concerned, but I couldn't stop. So, yes, Mom, Aiden's being investigated. Kyle's facing charges. Their lives are falling apart and I'm not protecting them anymore. I hung up as Teresa called. Kyle just tried to access his military email, she said. They've revoked all his credentials. He's officially suspended pending court-martial. How's Yvette taking it? She's not. Left base yesterday? Apparently, she's reconsidering her options. My phone buzzed with another text from Aiden. They're questioning Paige about the company cards. She's telling them everything. Please, sis, make it stop. I showed Bonnie the text. She raised an eyebrow. Will you? No. I picked up Kyle's dress uniform. Want to help me with something? We carried the uniforms to the backyard fire pit. As we laid them out, my phone rang again. Kyle. Yvette left, he said, voice hollow. She's talking about terminating. Says she can't handle the scandal. I thought about our baby, the one we'd lost, the one he'd abandoned. Karma's funny that way, I said and hung up. Bonnie handed me the lighter. You sure about this? I struck the flame, watching it dance. They thought I was dramatic, emotional, too intense. I touched the flame to the first uniform. They never realised those qualities make for excellent revenge. As the uniforms burned, my phone lit up with texts. From Mum. Please stop this. From Aiden. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. From Kyle. I love you. I always loved you. I turned off my phone and watched the flames rise. You know what the worst part is, I told Bonnie. I would have forgiven them if they'd just stayed, if they'd just chosen me once. She hugged me as the uniforms turned to ash. Their loss. Yes, I said, thinking of all the times I'd protected them, defended them, loved them despite everything. Their loss entirely. The flames rose higher, consuming the last pieces of my old life, my old loyalties. In their light, I finally felt warm again. The military advocacy blog interview went viral within hours. When the uniform becomes a shield, a military wife's story of abandonment and justice spread across social media like wildfire. They're calling you a hero, Bonnie said, reading the comments. Other wives are coming forward with similar stories. I was packing Kyle's remaining things into boxes when Teresa called. It's official, she said. Dishonourable discharge. Command made the announcement this morning. How's he taking it? Not well. He tried to blame Yvette, said she manipulated him. She responded by sending Command their entire text history. My phone buzzed with another call. Commander Hayes. Mrs. Harding, he said when I answered. I owe you an apology. We should have taken action sooner. Yes, you should have. We're implementing new protocols, support systems for military spouses, stricter oversight of family funds. He paused. Your story, it's changing things. After I hung up, Bonnie showed me a news alert. Tech firm faces investigation following whistleblower reports. Aiden's company photo was featured prominently. He's going to lose everything, my mother said, walking into my house uninvited. Both of them are. Are you happy now? I continued packing boxes. You still don't get it, do you? Get what? That you're destroying our family? That they destroyed it first. I turned to face her. Where were you when I was in the hospital, when I needed my mother? I didn't know how to help. No, you didn't. Because helping meant acknowledging something was wrong. That your precious son and his best friend were monsters. My phone buzzed. A text from Paige. Aiden's being charged with fraud. I'm testifying against him. I'm sorry it took me so long to see who he really was. I showed my mother the text. See? Even his girlfriend figured it out. He's still your brother. No, I said quietly. He stopped being my brother the moment he chose Kyle over me. Just like you stopped being my mother when you chose them over me. She left in tears. I didn't stop her. Teresa called again. Kyle's trying to sell his story to some tabloids. Playing victim. Let him try, I said. I have receipts for everything. My phone lit up with a message from Yvette. I lost the baby. Natural causes. Karma, I guess. I'm leaving town. You won. I didn't respond. Some victories don't need acknowledgement. Bonnie helped me carry Kyle's boxes to my car. We were taking them to Goodwill when Aidan appeared in my driveway. They're pressing charges, he said, looking broken. Federal charges for the LLC fraud. I know. Dad's name. They're investigating everything connected to his business. You should have thought about that before using our dead father's company for your Vegas fund. He stepped closer, desperate. Remember when we were kids? How you always protected me? I remember everything, I said. Every lie I told for you. Every time I covered your mistakes. Every moment I put you first. I opened my car door. That's how I knew exactly where to strike. Please, he whispered, I'm your little brother. No, I said, getting in the car. You're just another man who thought he could hurt me without consequences. As we drove away, Bonnie asked, Do you ever regret it? Going nuclear? I thought about the ultrasound picture, still in my wallet. About the hospital room, the bleeding, the loneliness. They thought I was too emotional, I said. Too dramatic. Too much. They never realised those qualities made me dangerous. My phone rang one last time that day. Kyle, I'm leaving town, he said, moving back home to my parents. I just wanted you to know. Goodbye, Kyle. That's it? After everything you did, I corrected. This isn't a love story, Kyle. It's a revenge story. And you're not the hero. I hung up as we pulled into Goodwill. Bonnie helped me unload the boxes, his uniforms, his medals, his life reduced to donations. What now? She asked as my phone buzzed with another notification. The Military Spouse Forum wanted me to speak at their next support group meeting. Now, I said, I help other women find their power, their voice. I smiled. Their revenge, if necessary. We drove home in silence, but it wasn't the heavy silence of grief anymore. It was the quiet of aftermath, of justice served, of peace finally found in the wreckage. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just serving justice, it's surviving to tell the story. The realtor handed me the keys to my new house with a smile. It needs some work, but the bones are good. I looked at the small fixer-upper on the outskirts of town. My fresh start. Far from the base, far from memories, far from them. Perfect, I said, taking the keys. Bonnie pulled up with the first load of boxes as my phone rang. Teresa. Kyle's gone, she said. Left for his parents' place this morning. But that's not why I'm calling. Oh, Command's implementing those new protocols we discussed. They want you to consult, help build better support systems for military spouses. I smiled, unlocking my new front door. Send me the details. Bonnie followed me inside with a box. How does it feel? Like freedom. My phone buzzed with a text from Paige. Aidan took a plea deal. 5 years probation, full restitution. He's moving back in with your mum. Good, I said, showing Bonnie. Let him feel what dependence really means. A letter arrived as we were unpacking, handwritten from Teresa. Dear Natasha, we can't pick our family, but sometimes we still get to choose who to protect. You protected others by exposing Kyle. You protected yourself by standing up. I'm proud to call you my sister, not by blood, but by choice. Love, Teresa. I pinned it to my new fridge as Bonnie opened another box. Oh, she said softly, pulling out the ultrasound picture I'd kept. Do you want to... Keep it, I said. Some memories deserve to stay even if they hurt. My phone rang again. My mother. Aiden's home, she said. He's different, quiet, scared. Good. Maybe he'll learn something. He asks about you. Says he understands now what real consequences feel like. I looked around my new house. Empty walls waiting for new memories, clean floors ready for fresh steps. Mum, I said, I'm not coming back. Not to him, not to any of it. I know. She paused. I understand now too. Too late, but I understand. After we hung up, Bonnie and I continued unpacking. Each box emptied felt like releasing another piece of the past. Holy shit, Bonnie said suddenly, staring at her phone. Your military spouse blog post. It's being turned into a documentary about accountability in the armed forces. I smiled, remembering Commander Hayes' words about changing things. The doorbell rang. A delivery, flowers from the military spouse support group. Thank you for giving us a voice. As I put them in water, something felt off. I checked my calendar, counted days, then counted again. Bonnie, I said slowly, I'm late. She froze. Like, late. I touched my stomach, feeling something I hadn't felt since before. I need you to go to the store, I whispered. She returned with 3 pregnancy tests, all positive. Are you okay? She asked as I stared at the lines. I thought about Kyle, about Yvette's lost baby, about karma and cycles and new beginnings. Yes, I said, surprising myself by meaning it. This time is different. This time I'm stronger. My phone buzzed. An email from the military advocacy group. Your story has inspired policy changes across 3 bases. When can you start consulting? I replied one-handed, other hand still on my stomach. Immediately. These changes matter more than ever now. Bonnie hugged me. You're going to be amazing. We're going to be amazing, I corrected. This baby will have the best aunt ever. As the sun set on my first day in the new house, I sat on my porch, watching the neighborhood quiet down. My phone lit up with one final text from Commander Hayes. Justice comes in many forms. Sometimes it's punishment. Sometimes it's change. Sometimes it's a fresh start. You've achieved all 3. Well done, Natasha. I smiled, touching my stomach again. The universe has a strange sense of humor, taking one life while creating another, ending old chapters while writing new ones. This time, I whispered to my barely there baby, we protect each other. No more covering for those who hurt us. No more sacrificing ourselves for others' comfort. Bonnie called from inside. Where do you want these baby books I definitely didn't just order online? I laughed. A real laugh. Maybe my first since everything happened. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying others. Sometimes it's about rebuilding yourself stronger, smarter, fiercer. Sometimes the best revenge is living well, living true, living free. And sometimes, when you least expect it, life gives you a second chance to do it right. This time, I was ready.
The day I bought my first house, my cousins decided it belonged to them. I should have seen it coming. They'd been treating my life like a timeshare for years. But I guess even doormats have their breaking point. My name is Tiffany, and I've spent the last decade being everyone's favorite emotional ATM. You know the type. The responsible one, the reliable cousin who always has her act together, the one who gets called at 3 a.m. because someone needs bail money or a place to crash. Again. Tiff, your Greek yogurt's gone bad. Lorelei's voice echoed through my apartment as she rummaged through my fridge. It was 7 a.m. on a Tuesday, and she'd let herself in. Again. With my spare key that was supposedly for emergencies only. That yogurt was fresh yesterday, I called back from my bedroom where I was getting ready for work. Before you stayed over, without asking. Well, it tastes funny now. I heard the distinct sound of my entire yogurt container hitting the trash. You should really buy the brand I like anyway. The organic one? I closed my eyes and counted to 10. My mortgage approval letter sat heavy in my purse, a secret I'd been guarding for weeks. After 5 years of overtime and side gigs, I'd finally done it. My own place, my rules, no more surprise roommates.
Hey, did you wash my workout clothes from last week? Reagan appeared in my doorway wearing my favorite sweater. I left them in your hamper. You mean the ones you've left here for 3 weeks? I adjusted my blazer, avoiding her eyes in the mirror. No, I didn't wash your clothes. Again. God, you're so uptight lately. Reagan flopped onto my bed, messing up my carefully made sheets. What's your problem?
My problem was currently sprawled across my bed wearing my clothes, but I kept quiet. I'd learned long ago that confrontation just led to family-wide drama, tears, and guilt trips about blood being thicker than water. Instead, I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Lock up when you leave, I said, knowing they wouldn't. They never did. At work, I stared at the mortgage approval letter between meetings. The little craftsman house on Cedar Street wasn't much, just 2 bedrooms and a tiny yard. But it was mine. All mine. Or it would be, after closing next week. My phone buzzed with a text from Naomi. You telling them at the BBQ tonight? I typed back, have to. Closing's next week. Want backup? I can bring wine and a taser.
I smiled despite myself. Naomi had been pushing me to stand up to my cousins for years. Just wine, trying to keep it casual. The family BBQ was anything but casual. Aunt Rachel's backyard was packed with relatives, the air thick with charcoal smoke and passive-aggressive comments. I waited until most people had a few drinks in them before making my announcement. So, I said, clearing my throat during a lull in conversation. I bought a house. The reaction was immediate. Congratulations from the distant relatives, questions about the neighborhood, and then, "Oh my God, this is perfect," Lorelei squealed, sloshing her wine. "Ray and I were just saying we needed a change of scene." My stomach dropped. "What?" "We'll help you move in," Reagan chimed in, already pulling out her phone. "I'm thinking we could do like a roommate situation, split the bills and everything." That's not really. "This is so exciting." Lorelei wrapped me in a tight hug that smelled like Pinot Grigio. "We'll finally all live together like we always talked about. We never talked about." "I call the master bedroom," Reagan announced to general laughter. I caught Naomi's eye across the yard. She made a throat-cutting gesture and mouthed, "Shut it down." But I just stood there, smile frozen in place, as my cousins planned their invasion of my home. My sanctuary. My escape. That's when something inside me shifted. Maybe it was the way Lorelei was already ordering furniture on her phone for our house. Maybe it was Reagan texting her boyfriend about their new address. Or maybe it was just that last thread of patience finally snapping after years of stretch. I pulled out my phone and typed a quick message to Caleb at work. "Remember that moving company you mentioned? I need a quote. And directions to the cheapest storage unit in town." My cousins were still chattering about paint colors and room arrangements when I looked up. I smiled, really smiled, for the first time that evening. "Sure," I said sweetly. "I'll even hire the moving truck." They had no idea what was coming, but they would. "Family helps family," Aunt Rachel declared, slamming her coffee mug on my kitchen counter. It was 8 a.m. on a Sunday, and somehow my simple house purchase had turned into an impromptu family meeting. "I raised you better than this, Tiffany." I hadn't even said no yet. I'd just suggested very gently that maybe my new house wasn't big enough for 3 adults. "It's 2 bedrooms," I pointed out, trying to keep my voice level. "And I need one for my home office." "You can put your desk in the living room," Lorelei waved her hand dismissively. She was already measuring my kitchen windows with a tape measure she'd brought. "These curtains won't work. I'm thinking something in emerald green. I haven't even closed on the house yet." "Which is why it's perfect timing," Reagan bounced in, carrying a stack of home decoration magazines. "We can help you make all the decisions. Oh, we should do a feature wall, something bold. My phone buzzed, a text from Naomi. How's the ambush going? I typed back quickly. They're redecorating my house before I've even moved in. Tell them to back off, came the immediate response. But before I could say anything, Aunt Rachel cleared her throat. You know, when your mother passed, I promised her I'd look after you, make sure you had family around you. And there it was, the dead mom card. I gripped my coffee mug tighter. Mom would want you to be happy, I said quietly. Exactly, Lorelai jumped in. And what could make you happier than living with your cousins? We're practically sisters. Sisters who never paid rent, ate all my food, and treated my belongings like a free shopping mall. I need to get to work, I said, standing up. It was Sunday. Oh, speaking of work, Reagan piped up, I might need to borrow some money for the move, just until my Instagram influencer career takes off. I walked to my bedroom, closed the door, and called Naomi. Girl, you need to shut this down, she said without preamble. I know. Then why aren't you? I watched through my window as Lorelai's BMW pulled up, loaded with more magazines and what looked like fabric swatches. Because I'm tired of fighting, I said. Tired of being the bad guy? Tired of being their doormat? Yeah. Then do something about it. I ended the call and opened my laptop. A new email from Caleb popped up. Storage unit reserved, 10x15, climate controlled, first month paid, moving company on standby. Another text from Lorelai lit up my phone. Found the perfect sectional for our living room. Only $3,000. You can put it on your credit card and we'll totally pay you back. I closed my eyes, remembering the last time they'd promised to pay me back. And the time before that. And before that. The doorbell rang. Isaiah stood there, looking uncomfortable. Hey, cuz, he said, shuffling his feet. Mom sent me to help with the planning. Of course she did. I let him in. Look, I know Lori and Ray can be intense, he started. Intense? I laughed. They've already picked out curtains, furniture, and decided which bedroom is theirs. In my house. They're excited. No, they're entitled. The words came out sharper than I intended. And everyone enables them. Isaiah had the grace to look ashamed. We're family. Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. Being family doesn't make it okay to take advantage of someone. Nobody's taking advantage. Really? I pulled out my phone and showed him my notes app. Want to see how much money they owe me? Want to count how many times they've borrowed my clothes and never returned them? Or maybe we should talk about the time they threw a party in my apartment while I was at a funeral. Isaiah went quiet. I'm done talking, I said finally. It's time they listened. My phone buzzed again, a text from Aunt Rachel. Girls are so excited about the move. Remember, family first. I looked at Isaiah. You might want to clear your schedule for moving day. It's going to be interesting. What are you planning? I smiled, the same sweet smile I'd been perfecting for years. Just helping family. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? He looked worried, but didn't press further. Smart man. After he left, I called Caleb. You still got that storage connection? I asked when he picked up. Yeah. Why? Because I need a favor. And I need you to keep a secret. I'm listening. I watched another car pull up outside. Reagan with more magazines and what looked like paint samples. Time to teach my family about boundaries, I said. The hard way. You can just stack those boxes in the living room, I said sweetly, watching Lorelai and Reagan haul in their 5th load of belongings. Moving day's only 2 weeks away. This is just the first batch, Lorelai announced, dropping a box labeled designer shoes onto my couch. We figured we'd get a head start. You know, make the actual move easier. I nodded, snapping a quick picture of the growing pile when they weren't looking. Evidence, just in case. Oh, Reagan squealed, clapping her hands. I had the best idea for the attic space. I could turn it into my yoga studio. I've been wanting to start teaching classes. Last month you wanted to be a food critic, I reminded her. That was before I discovered my spiritual path, she said, rolling her eyes. Besides, this could be really profitable. We could charge people for classes.
In my house? Our house, Lorelai corrected, unpacking a crystal vase I definitely hadn't agreed to display. Family sharing space, remember? My phone buzzed. Caleb. Storage units ready. Want to do a walkthrough? Can't, I typed back, watching the invasion in real time. Need backup? I looked up as Reagan started rearranging my bookshelf to make room for her collection of healing crystals. Not yet, but soon. The doorbell rang. Naomi stood there with 2 cups of coffee and raised eyebrows. Wow, she said, taking in the boxes. They're really doing this, huh? Oh, hi, Naomi, Lorelai called out, not looking up from where she was measuring wall space. We're just getting settled in. You should come to Ray's yoga classes once we're moved in. Naomi shot me a look that clearly said, Are you kidding me? Actually, I said, accepting the coffee. Naomi's helping me catalog everything that's being moved in, for insurance purposes. That got their attention. Insurance? Reagan asked, suddenly nervous. Of course, I said, taking a sip of coffee. Have to make sure everything's properly documented, in case anything gets damaged in the move. Lorelai and Reagan exchanged glances. Speaking of the move, Lorelai said slowly, we should probably talk about the moving truck costs. Since we're bringing most of the furniture. Oh, don't worry about that, I smiled. I've got it all arranged. Professional movers, insurance, everything. Really? Reagan brightened. That's so generous. That's our tiff, Lorelai grinned, going back to her measuring. Always taking care of everyone. Naomi made a choking sound that she covered with a cough. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Isaiah. You sure about this? They're telling everyone they're moving in with you. Let them talk, I typed back. More boxes arrived throughout the day. Clothing, shoes, makeup, exercise equipment Reagan had never used. Lorelai's entire collection of wine glasses. With each delivery, I took careful photos and notes. The attic's going to need better lighting for yoga, Reagan declared, coming down from her 3rd inspection. And probably some mirrors, full-length ones. And soundproofing, Lorelai added. For the meditation sessions. Absolutely, I agreed. Bring everything you need. After they finally left, Naomi helped me document the boxes. This is insane, she said, reading labels. Winter formal gowns? Vintage handbags? Are they moving in or opening a boutique? Both, probably. I sent the photos to Caleb. How much can fit in that storage unit? Plenty, he texted back. You sure about this? It's going to get ugly. I looked around my living room, now cramped with their belongings. At the crystal vase Lorelai had placed on my coffee table. At the yoga mat Reagan had forgotten to take home. They made it ugly years ago, I replied. I'm just finally returning the favor. That night, I got a group text from Aunt Rachel. Girls' night planning session tomorrow. Let's discuss weekly dinner rotations once you're all moved in. Lorelai chimed in. I'm thinking Sunday roasts. I'll teach Tiff how to cook properly. Can't wait, I replied, adding a heart emoji. Then I pulled up the moving company's number and confirmed the date and special instructions. The driver seemed confused about the destination switch, but the extra 100 I'd promised kept questions to a minimum. My phone lit up with another text from Reagan. Bringing over my aromatherapy collection tomorrow. Found the perfect spot in your room. We're going to have so much fun being roomies. I took a deep breath, smelling the lingering scent of Lorelai's perfume in my apartment. 2 more weeks, just 2 more weeks, and then they'd learn what happens when you push too far. Can't wait, I texted back. Bring everything you want to keep. Because soon, very soon, they'd learn the difference between what they wanted and what they deserved. The moving truck's here, Reagan squealed, bouncing on her toes as the large vehicle backed into their driveway. This is really happening. I stood in the morning sun, sipping my coffee, and watching the driver check his paperwork. Caleb had come through. The company had specific instructions, and a hefty bonus waiting if they followed them exactly. You're being weirdly calm about all this, Lorelai said, eyeing me suspiciously. Usually you're such a control freak. Just excited to get everyone settled, I smiled, filming as the movers started loading boxes. Want to document the big day. The movers worked efficiently, loading box after box of my cousin's belongings. Designer clothes, expensive electronics, yoga equipment still in its original packaging, all carefully documented on my phone. We should follow the truck, Lorelai announced as the last box went in. Make sure everything gets there safely. Oh, I need to stop by the bank first, I said quickly. Why don't you head to the house? I'll meet you there. Perfect! We can start unpacking while we wait. Reagan was already in her car. Don't take too long. I watched them drive off, then quickly texted Caleb. They're heading to the house. Stall them. On it, he replied. Dave's ready with the truck at the storage facility. I took my time driving to my new house, taking the scenic route. My phone started buzzing 15 minutes later. Where's the truck? Lorelai demanded when I answered. We've been waiting forever. Traffic probably, I said calmly. You know how it is on moving day. Everything takes longer than expected. Another 20 minutes passed. More calls, more texts. I ignored them all. Finally, Reagan's name flashed on my screen. The tracking app says the truck is at Cedar Storage. What the hell, Tiffany? I pulled into my driveway, where both cousins stood waiting, faces red with anger. What's going on? Lorelai stormed over to my car. Why is the truck at a storage facility? I got out slowly, adjusting my sunglasses. Because that's where your stuff is going. What? Reagan's voice went shrill. This isn't funny, Tiff. It's not meant to be. I leaned against my car, feeling surprisingly calm. The unit's paid for 1 month. After that, it's your responsibility. Lorelai's face went from red to purple. You can't do this. We had an agreement. No, you had assumptions. Big difference. But all our stuff. Reagan was near tears. What about the yoga studio? You can do yoga in the storage unit, I suggested. It's climate controlled. Lorelai grabbed my arm. This is illegal. We'll sue. I gently removed her hand. Actually, I have documentation of every item you voluntarily brought to my apartment, plus video evidence of you both acknowledging the move. Want to explain to a judge why you assumed you could move into someone else's house without their permission? We're family, Reagan wailed. Exactly. And family shouldn't take advantage of family. I pulled out my phone and showed them the photos. Remember this vase? The one you brought over without asking? Or these shoes you stored in my closet? Or maybe we should talk about the credit card bills you promised to pay. I'm calling Mom, Lorelai snarled, pulling out her phone. Go ahead. I'm sure Aunt Rachel would love to hear about the party you threw in my apartment during Grandpa's funeral. That made her pause. You've got 1 month, I said quietly. After that, the storage company auctions off unpaid units. Might want to hurry. I hear designer clothes sell fast. You'll regret this, Lorelai hissed. The whole family will hear about what you did. You mean how I helped you move? How generous I was to pay for professional movers? How I made sure all your belongings were safely stored? I smiled. Go ahead. Tell everyone. Reagan was openly crying now. Where are we supposed to live? Probably wherever you were living before you decided to commandeer my house. I walked past them to my front door. I hear your mom has plenty of room. This isn't over, Lorelai called after me. Actually, it is. I turned back one last time. Oh, and I'll need my spare key back. Both copies. They stood in my driveway, speechless, as I went inside and locked the door. My phone immediately exploded with notifications. Aunt Rachel, Isaiah, various relatives demanding explanations. I ignored them all and texted Caleb instead. It's done. How'd they take it? About as well as you'd expect. I looked out my window at my cousins, now frantically calling everyone they knew. But for the first time in years, I can breathe in my own home. Worth it? I watched Lorelai and Reagan finally get in their cars, peeling out of my driveway like they were fleeing a crime scene. Ask me after the family fallout, I typed. But right now? Absolutely. 3 hours of blessed silence passed before my phone rang again. I'd been enjoying the peace, arranging my furniture exactly how I wanted it, when Reagan's number flashed on my screen. "Why is there a note on our stuff?" she shrieked before I could even say hello. "Did you read it?" I asked calmly, straightening a picture frame, one that Lorelai had always insisted was tacky. "This storage unit is prepaid for 1 month. After that, it's all yours," she read, voice shaking. "What kind of sick joke is this?" Not a joke, just a reality check. My phone buzzed with another call. Aunt Rachel. I ignored it. "We trusted you." Reagan was full-on sobbing now. "We're supposed to be family." Funny how family only matters when you want something from me. Another call. Isaiah this time. Then 3 texts in rapid succession. Isaiah. "Mom's having a meltdown." Isaiah. "Grandma's flying in tomorrow." Isaiah. "Emergency family meeting. You have to come." "Great," I muttered, just as my doorbell started ringing incessantly. I peeked through the peephole to see Aunt Rachel, mascara running down her face, jabbing at my doorbell like it had personally offended her. "Tiffany Marie!" she shouted through the door. "Open up right now." I took a deep breath and opened the door. "Hi, Aunt Rachel." She burst past me into the house. "How could you, after everything we've done for you?" "Everything you've done for me?" I felt that familiar anger rising. "You mean like when you told everyone I was selfish for not letting Lorelai use my car after she crashed hers? Or when you made me feel guilty for not wanting Reagan to throw parties in my apartment? We raised you like one of our own." "No," I said quietly. "You raised me like something you owned." Her face went white. "Your mother would be ashamed." My mother would have wanted me to stand up for myself. I walked to my kitchen and pulled out a folder. "Want to see the spreadsheet of everything your daughters owe me? Or should we start with the photos of my apartment after their parties?" "This isn't about money." "You're right. It's about respect, something they've never shown me." My phone buzzed again. The family group chat was exploding. Lorelai. "Hope you're happy with yourself." Reagan. "My crystals could get damaged in storage." Isaiah. "Grandma's plane lands at 9 a.m. Aunt Rachel. "Family meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Everyone must attend." I muted the chat and looked at my aunt, still standing in my kitchen looking shell-shocked. "You'll be there tomorrow," she said. It wasn't a question. Of course. I wouldn't miss it. After she left, I called Naomi. "So," she said when she picked up, "I hear World War III just started in your family." News travels fast. "Girl, it's all over Facebook. Lorelai's posting cryptic status updates about betrayal and karma. Reagan's sharing quotes about toxic family members." I laughed despite myself. At least they're consistent. "You okay?" I looked around my quiet, peaceful house. No random clothes strewn about. No one rearranging my furniture or eating my food. No guilt trips or demands. "Yeah," I said. "I really am." "Need backup for tomorrow's meeting?" "No, this is something I need to do alone." My phone buzzed with a text from Isaiah. "Heads up. Reagan's talking about small claims court for emotional distress and property damage." I snorted and typed back, "Tell her to go ahead. I've got receipts." The next message was from Lorelai. "Hope you're ready for what's coming. You picked the wrong family to mess with." I saved the message, more evidence, and poured myself a glass of wine. My phone kept buzzing with messages and calls, but for the first time in years, I felt no obligation to answer. Instead, I walked through my house, enjoying the silence. No one's yoga mat in the corner. No one's unwashed dishes in my sink. No one's expectations weighing me down. Another text, this time from Caleb. "Your cousins just tried to get into the storage unit. Security turned them away." They okay? I asked. The security guard or your cousins? Both. Guard's fine. Your cousins left screaming about lawyers. I smiled and took another sip of wine. Let them scream. One final text came through from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me open it. This is Grandma. We need to talk before tomorrow's meeting. Breakfast? 8 a.m.? I stared at the message for a long moment. Grandma had always been different from the rest. Tougher, fairer. But even she had her blind spots when it came to family. 8 a.m., I typed back. But I'm not changing my mind. Her response was immediate. Good, neither am I. Grandma was already at the diner when I arrived, a cup of black coffee in front of her and another waiting for me. She didn't look angry. If anything, she looked amused. Quite a storm you've stirred up, she said as I slid into the booth. They started it. Oh, I know. She stirred her coffee slowly. Remember when you were 10? And Lorelai convinced everyone you'd broken her new bicycle, even though she'd crashed it herself? I blinked, surprised. You knew about that? I've known about a lot of things, dear. She pulled out her phone, ancient but functional, and started scrolling through photos. Like this one. Christmas 3 years ago? The photo showed Lorelai wearing my brand new sweater, a gift I'd supposedly lost before even wearing it. You've been keeping track? Someone had to. She put her phone away. I wanted to see how long it would take you to stand up for yourself. The waitress came by with menus. We ordered. Eggs Benedict for me, blueberry pancakes for Grandma. Why didn't you say anything? I asked after the waitress left. Would you have listened? Or would you have made excuses for them like always? She had me there. The family meeting's going to be rough, she warned. Rachel's on the warpath, says you've destroyed her girls. They destroyed themselves. I just stopped enabling it. Grandma smiled, a sharp, satisfied expression. Good answer. Now tell me everything. Start with the storage unit. By the time we finished breakfast, I had Grandma laughing so hard she nearly choked on her pancakes. A month storage, she wheezed. And they have to pay after that. Oh, that's beautiful. You're not mad? Mad? Honey, I'm proud. It's about time someone taught those girls about consequences. The family meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. at Aunt Rachel's house. I arrived exactly on time to find the living room packed with relatives. Lorelai and Reagan sat on the couch, trying their best to look wounded. Isaiah hovered awkwardly by the window. Aunt Rachel stood in the center of the room, like a prosecutor ready to present her case. Finally, she snapped as I walked in. Now we can discuss your disgraceful behavior. Can we? I sat in an empty chair, feeling calmer than I expected. Okay, let's discuss it. You abandoned your family, Reagan burst out. Left us homeless. You have a home, I pointed out, with your mother, where you were living before you tried to hijack my house. We didn't... Lorelai started, but I cut her off. Want me to show everyone the texts? The videos? The spreadsheets of everything you've borrowed and never returned? That's different, Aunt Rachel interjected. Family helps family. Really? I pulled out my phone. So when I needed help with Mom's medical bills, where was this family helps family attitude? When I worked 3 jobs to keep my apartment, did either of you offer to actually pay rent while you were staying there? The room went quiet. Or how about when I had surgery last year? Neither of you visited, but you did throw a party in my apartment while I was recovering at Naomi's. That's not... Lorelai tried again. I have pictures, I said flatly. Want to see them? Enough, Aunt Rachel's voice shook. We raised you better than this. We took you in after your mother died, and held it over my head ever since. I stood up, feeling decades of resentment finally surface. You didn't take me in out of kindness. You took me in because it looked good, because it gave you another person to control. How dare you? No, how dare you? My voice was steady, even as my hands shook. You raised your daughters to think the world owed them everything, to take whatever they wanted, to use people and call it family. That's not true. Reagan was crying again. Your stuff is in storage unit 247, I said. The code is 5591. You have exactly 27 days before they auction it off. I suggest you start moving. I turned to leave, but Lorelai's voice stopped me. You've got karma coming, sis, she said softly. Just wait. I looked back at her, at all of them. Karma's already here. It's called consequences. As I reached the door, Grandma's voice rang out, Tiffany. I turned. She was standing now, looking at the whole family. I'm having my weekly Sunday dinners at Tiffany's house from now on, she announced. Anyone who wants to attend better learn about respect first. The explosion of voices that followed us out was almost musical. Grandma linked her arm through mine as we walked to our cars. Well, she said cheerfully, that was more entertaining than my soap operas. Was it worth it? I asked. She squeezed my arm. Ask me again after they get their storage bill. Behind us, I could hear Aunt Rachel's voice rising above the chaos. But we're family! For the first time in years, that word didn't make me flinch. The first week in my house was blissfully quiet. No unexpected visitors, no borrowed clothes, no guilt trips, just peace, interrupted only by the occasional buzz of my phone showing another angry social media post from my cousins. Then Isaiah called. Reagan's really filing a lawsuit, he said without preamble. She's claiming emotional distress and property damage. I was making coffee in my kitchen. My perfectly arranged, nobody else's stuff in it kitchen. Letter. Tiff? She's serious. She's got a lawyer and everything. Good for her. I took a sip of coffee. I've got documentation of everything, including the time she borrowed my car without permission and got 3 parking tickets in my name. Silence on the other end. Then, she did what? Ask her about it. I've still got the receipts. After we hung up, I checked my email. 3 new messages from Aunt Rachel, all in caps, all about family loyalty. 2 from Lorelai with links to articles about toxic family members, irony apparently lost on her, and 1 from the storage facility. Your cousins tried to access the unit again, Caleb texted a few minutes later. Security had to escort them out. They okay? Reagan threw her healing crystals at the guard. I snorted coffee through my nose. The doorbell rang. I checked the camera, Naomi holding takeout. So, she said, walking in and setting down Chinese food, I hear you're being sued. Apparently. I grabbed plates from my perfectly organized cabinets. For emotional distress and property damage that doesn't exist. You know what this means, right? I raised an eyebrow. You've won, she grinned. They're so desperate they're making stuff up. My phone buzzed again. A group text from extended family members. Aunt Patricia, family shouldn't treat family this way. Uncle Mike, your mother would be ashamed. Cousin Sarah, can't believe you'd do this to your own blood. I showed Naomi the messages. She rolled her eyes. Where were they when your cousins were taking advantage of you? Probably encouraging it. I muted the group chat. Apparently, I'm the family pariah now. Good. Naomi stabbed a piece of orange chicken. Better than being the family doormat. The next day, I came home from work to find my mailbox stuffed with printed screenshots. Every nice thing my cousins had ever done for me, compiled by Aunt Rachel. The note attached read, See what you're throwing away? I flipped through them. Lorelai letting me borrow a dress that she'd borrowed from me first. Reagan bringing me soup when I was sick, after crashing at my place for 2 weeks. All the favors that came with strings attached. The doorbell rang. Isaiah again. Reagan dropped the lawsuit, he said as soon as I opened the door. Let me guess. Her lawyer saw my documentation? He nodded. And the parking tickets, and the credit card statements, and the party videos. Funny how evidence works. He shifted uncomfortably. Look, I know they've been difficult. Difficult? I laughed. They tried to take over my house.
They've been taking advantage of me for years, and everyone enabled it. Including me, he admitted quietly. I softened slightly. At least you can admit it. Mom's organizing a family intervention, he warned. She's getting everyone together next weekend. No? Tiff, no, I repeated firmly. I'm done with family meetings, done with interventions, done with guilt trips. They can keep their drama. I'm keeping my peace. My phone buzzed. A text from Grandma. Sunday dinner still on? Absolutely, I replied. Just us? And me? Isaiah asked hesitantly. I'd like to make things right. I studied him for a moment. He'd never been as bad as the others, just complacent. Maybe that could change. Dinner's at 6, I said finally. Don't be late. After he left, I walked through my quiet house again. Family photos I'd chosen. Furniture arranged my way. A space that was completely, utterly mine. My phone lit up with another barrage of messages, flying monkeys sent by Aunt Rachel to guilt me into compliance. I deleted them without reading. Then a final text from Lorelei. You'll regret this. Family is forever. I looked at the message for a long moment, thinking about all the years of manipulation, all the taking without giving, all the guilt trips and gaslighting. You're right, I typed back. Family is forever, but toxic relationships don't have to be. I blocked her number before she could respond. The doorbell rang again. I checked the camera, half expecting another angry relative. Instead, it was Caleb, holding coffee and wearing a concerned expression. Heard you might need backup, he said when I opened the door. Or at least caffeine. I smiled, letting him in. Both. Definitely both. Behind him, I could see Lorelei's car pulling up to the curb. Round 2 was about to begin. Lorelei didn't knock. She pressed the doorbell repeatedly like she used to do at my apartment. But this wasn't my apartment, and I wasn't that person anymore. Want me to handle it? Caleb asked, setting down his coffee. No. I straightened my shoulders. This is my house, my rules. I opened the door but blocked the entrance. Lorelei stood there, makeup perfect, smile cold. We need to talk, she said. No, we don't. Actually, we do. She held up her phone. See, Reagan might have dropped her lawsuit, but I've got my own evidence. Years of texts where you agreed to let us stay. Videos of us planning the move. Want to see how that plays in court? I smiled. Want to see the videos of you admitting you never planned to pay rent? Or the texts where you promised to pay back all the money you borrowed? Better yet, want to explain to a judge why you used my credit card without permission? Her smile faltered. You picked the wrong war, she said, echoing her earlier threat. No, you picked the wrong victim. I leaned against the doorframe. I'm not your backup plan anymore. Not your ATM, not your free storage unit or hotel or whatever else you needed me to be. After everything we've been through, you mean everything you put me through? She changed tactics, eyes welling up with tears. We're sisters, Tiff. Family. No, we're cousins who grew up together, and you're a bully who never grew up at all. The tears vanished instantly. You'll regret this. The whole family's turning against you. The family turned against me years ago, I said quietly. They just didn't notice because I never fought back. But I'm fighting now. Is that what this is? Your big revenge? No. I smiled again, genuinely this time. This is my piece. You're just mad because you're not allowed to disturb it anymore. She opened her mouth to respond, but my phone buzzed. A text from the storage facility. Unit 247 payment due in 48 hours. I showed her the screen. Better hurry. Designer clothes are hard to replace. You wouldn't. Try me. We stared at each other for a long moment, entitled Princess versus Reformed Doormat. Finally, she stepped back. This isn't over, she said, but her voice shook slightly. Actually, it is. I gestured to my security camera. And if you show up uninvited again, the police will have a lovely video to watch.
She stormed off to her car, tires squealing as she left. I closed the door and turned to find Caleb watching me with something like admiration. That, he said, was impressive. My phone buzzed again. Grandma. Just heard from Rachel. Something about you threatening Lorelei with police? She showed up uninvited. I typed back. I showed her out. Good girl. See you Sunday. I'm bringing pie. Another text, this time from Isaiah. Mom's crying, Lorelei's raging, and Reagan's threatening to move to Europe. What happened? Growth, I replied. Try it sometime. Caleb handed me my coffee, now lukewarm. You okay? I thought about it. About the years of manipulation, the guilt trips, the taking and taking and taking, about how standing up for myself had cost me half my family, the half that never really cared about me anyway.
Yeah, I said. I really am. My phone lit up one last time, an email notification from the storage facility. Unit 247 had been emptied. They'd finally collected their things. Want to celebrate? Caleb asked. There's a new restaurant downtown. Are you asking me out? He grinned. Depends. Are you saying yes? Before I could answer, a final text came through. From Aunt Rachel. You've broken this family. I hope you're happy. I looked around my peaceful house. At the friend who'd helped me stand my ground. At the security camera that meant I never had to be caught off guard again. At all the space that was mine alone. Actually, I typed back, I've fixed myself. The family can do what they want with that information. I blocked her number too, then turned to Caleb. Yes, to dinner. But I'm buying. Deal. He hesitated. You know they'll try again, right? People like that don't give up easily. I know. I picked up my keys, my house keys, that no one else would ever have copies of. But I don't give up easily either. Not anymore. We stepped outside into the evening air. My house stood quiet behind us. No unwanted guests, no drama, no guilt. Just peace. Hard-won, long overdue peace. Ready? Caleb asked. I locked my door, my house, my life, and smiled. Absolutely. Behind us, the security camera blinked steadily, guarding my boundaries. And for the first time in forever, I felt completely, utterly free.